has done this type of coverage before. So for the next 3 or so hours, we're just going to have some fun with this. How are you, Timothy?
Yeah, I'm doing great, and I'm happy to be here this evening. What I'm really excited, we'll be covering local elections,
yes,
but also we'll be dipping into the national election, and we'll be giving some updates on it as well. So if you want to, KMVT is presenting all of it. You don't have to look at any other channels. We hopefully can cover everything and do a great job for that. Yeah. We're also having a party here at KMVT, so anybody who wants to come down, we've got some food, and feel free to join us here as we cover the elections.
All right, come and hang out with us. Like I said, it's the first time we've done this as a party, as an open door. So if you're at home and you want something to drink, because we have that here,
yep,
alcoholic and not, as well as great food from the Tide House. So come on down, the menu. So come on down, hang out with us, and we'll be ad-libbing through this thing for the next 3.5 hours. So I think we're going to have a great time. I've worked with Timothy before with the Art and Wine Festival here in Mountain View. So it's great to connect with you again. We're just going to have a lot of stuff happening tonight. We're covering local and national, as he said. We have a couple of monitors going while we're here. We'll be taking questions. So if you guys want to call or tweet or go online and submit questions, we're going to be interviewing a lot of candidates tonight, both in Los Altos and Mountain View elections.
Yeah, so we'll have some of those local people here in the studio. We also have camera out on the street, and we have some tape recorded segments from this morning and this afternoon for people on the streets of Los Altos, so you can see what they have to say as well. So we're really excited to have all those people participating.
Timothy, did you vote today?
I sure did.
Where's your sticker?
Same place where yours is. I forgot to put my sticker on, but I voted today, and I was happy to participate in that vote, and so did my wife. We both went out and voted today.
Great.
So we'll see how things go. And in the background, we have the national election going right now, too.
Yeah, I just heard
we'll
that CNN is calling Utah for Romney, which shouldn't be a really big surprise right now. So I think the closer we get to our time, it's going to be great. So, Timothy, why don't you take us to our next segment?
Yeah, so now we're going to go live on the street here, and we're going to see Christina, who has a segment for us for you to enjoy watching that now. So take it away, Christina.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Christiana State, and we're here in front of the City Hall in Mountain View, talking to voters who are exiting the polls after voting. Hello, Scott.
Hello, how are you doing?
Pretty good. So how was your voting experience today? Was it easy?
Very easy. It's not very crowded here, so certainly come down. I've had other experiences where it's been kind of crowded. I used the write-in ballot, so I was able to pre-fill it out and just drop it off, so really quick.
What did you think about the clarity of the propositions?
Well, I mean, it's always good. We get a good California voter information pamphlet, so rather than watch all the commercials, you definitely want to read it. It's very good. There's arguments for and against, and then the rebuttals by both sides, so you can really read the whole. You can read the whole ballot measures. You can hear the arguments for and against. So.
Got it. So who did you vote for today?
Well, I went for the Libertarian, believe it or not. I probably would have voted for Obama if it was in question in California, but we're pretty firmly behind him. And for me, I'd like to see more choices. I'm someone who, I'm socially liberal, but, I do want to see a little more fiscal responsibility. So I would like to see a third party that maybe straddles those lines. I really don't identify with either one 100%.
So when you watched the presidential debates, you were still not convinced?
Well, like I said, I would have, if it was in question, I would have voted for Obama. I would have gone with the Democrat. But I want to at least support some alternative candidates, so there is more choice out there.
So if
done deal, I think, in California, as far as Obama winning. So I wanted to at least have a voice and try to improve it in the future.
If, let's say, Governor Romney wins the presidency today, what do you think about him, and what do you think about he would do for the country?
Well, I think actually both candidates are a little more centrist than, they seem to be on TV. They tend to appeal to their extremists when they're going through the primaries. Particularly, Romney's tried to criticize Obama, and it seems like they're really on the same page on a lot more things than they like to lead on. So, and in general, you see a lot of, they criticize the Army and all this, but I see the same military in charge. I still see Goldman Sachs in charge of the financial system. I still see Monsanto, controlling our agriculture. So, it's not that big a change. So I kind of like to throw out the incumbents as much as I can, the Congress people, and try to like I said, support more options. That's why I went for the Libertarian candidate.
Now you mentioned Monsanto, and there was a proposition on the ballot today regarding labeling genetically engineered foods. How did you vote for that, and what do you think about that proposition?
I did vote yes on that. I mean, I want to, I definitely support my organic foods, my local farmers in particular, more than just the organic. That was a tough one, though. I mean, I am a little bit conservative as far as fiscally. I don't want bureaucracy that isn't necessary. But that seems like a good one, at least to start some awareness for people as far as, eating healthy food, I think is really important.
What about the 3 strikes proposition?
I went for that also too. I think it's a little extreme, and I think they could, improve it a little bit.
And the death penalty proposition?
Yeah, that also. I think the experience I've seen from other states is that it's too expensive. They make too many mistakes, and so I was for repealing that also.
Now, what about the measure that is trying to limit the salaries for the executives for the El Camino Hospital? Do you remember that?
I'm a Milpitas resident, so I don't think that was on mine.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I didn't see that one. I work nearby, so it's convenient. I can drop it any polling place, so I get the mail in. I can either mail it in or drop it off pretty easily rather than wait in line, so I choose that option.
Got it. Okay. So what are you going to do for the rest of the day? How are you going to watch the results tonight?
I'll go back to work the rest of the day, but certainly I'll watch tonight to see what the results were for all the propositions and all the elected officials.
Who do you think is going to win?
That's a tough one. You never know. I think in general people say they're more liberal than they are, and so Republicans maybe creep up a little bit more. So it may look like Obama has a lead, but depending state by state and our electoral college, the way it works, things can swing pretty easily.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Sure.
Christiana State for KMVT 15.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Alicia Crank, back here with KMVT's live election coverage for local and national elections. And right now I am here with Chris Clark, who is a Mountain View City Council candidate here. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
So what do you think? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm very excited. It's great for everything to culminate with an evening like this, just to have all the hard work out of the way, to be able to relax for a little bit and just watch the results come in, even though your fate really comes down to clicking a refresh button in a browser. It's exciting to finally be at the end of a very long process.
I know right now you're like, okay, but then when 801 hits, is that first refresh button, and
Exactly.
You're like, where am I in the listing?
Exactly. And they're not going to reorder the names, so you just kind of have to do the math and figure it out.
Right. So I know this is your second time running for city council. You ran in 2008. Came very close last time. So are you feeling more confident this time around, or?
Yeah, I am. I'm feeling much more confident. I was confident in 2008, but that coming in, especially as a new candidate who hasn't served on a lot of city bodies, that it's an uphill battle, and that kind of weighs on your psyche the entire time. It both makes you work really, really hard, but it also, at the end of the day, leaves you wondering, am I going to make it or not? And the second time around, just the way that I've been received by folks, the number of endorsements that have come in, and the number of folks who have just kind of randomly sent me a note or come up to me and said, Chris, we're proud to support you this time. We're glad you stuck around, got the extra experience. We're very impressed by your commitment to the city, and we'll vote for you this time around. And it really gives you that extra push to keep going.
So what have you done differently between 2008 and now, as far as what you've done in the community? And
so part of it was, serving on the Human Relations Commission for a couple of years really helps you learn about the diversity of the community, the fabric of the community, and it really connects you to, I guess, the more intangible aspects of the community. Yeah. And then on the Planning Commission, you get a lot of kind of the nitty-gritty land use experience, which can both be really it can be mundane, but you get to see at the end of the day the fruits of your labor in the developments that happen, and whether or not, and you kind of get to leave your stamp on the city, and so much of that is what City Council does as well, and I think that's been a very valuable experience. And then just getting involved with the community, like on the CHAC board, and getting involved in some of the schools and children and family counseling, those types of things have really helped connect me to, I think, more community members, and really kind of branch out beyond where I was in 2008.
So during your time on the EPC, is there one particular project that you can kind of point to that you're like, I'm happy I was able to kind of be there to support this particular project that may have happened in the city that came under EPC?
Yeah, I can think of two things. One, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the general plan that we spent 4 years on,
That was a
because
test, so
that will really guide the city through the next 10, 20 years, and that was a long and arduous process with a lot of community input. But we're now, I've heard a lot of folks in neighboring cities who are getting ready to update their general plan using Mountain View as kind of the guide for that, and they were really impressed with what we did. And I think there will be some developments that haven't been built yet, but that are coming, that will be very nice, very very green developments that will meet some of our housing needs, yet kind of fit in with the character of the community. And we've gotten some public amenities in terms of trails and public access that we wouldn't have had otherwise. So I think there's still some more to come, but the general plan was really the big accomplishment of the last 4 years.
So should you be elected tonight or tomorrow, if they'll call it tonight, is there one particular thing you would like to achieve or help to get achieved during your first 4 years?
I think so. I think probably in the next 2-3 years, transportation in the city, but especially in the North Bay Shore area, will be a really important thing that's coming to council in the near term. And I think being a part of that and really helping craft what I hope will be some innovative solutions instead of, we can do some of the traditional things that we've done in the past, but that just isn't going to cut it in a city that wants to be on the cutting edge and has really innovative players like the Googles, the LinkedIns, the startups that we have. We really need to be on the cutting edge, and I hope that we can find some innovative solutions in addition to some of the more traditional solutions to solve our transportation problems in the North Bay Shore.
And are you feeling any kind of pressure one way or another, should you be elected, being one of the young folks that'll be coming on council? Are you feeling
I think yes, and you start to feel that even during the campaign. Some people are surprised, but my youth really is my biggest liability, because people think you're the volunteer and not necessarily the candidate, and you really have to open your mouth and prove yourself a little bit more and go that extra mile in order to convince someone to vote for you. So yes, and there will be pressure. There's always, I hope that my commission experience will help me get up to speed faster than I think than if I had just won without serving on any commissions. But at the end of the day, there is going to be a learning curve, but I feel like I'm up for the challenge, and that's part of what drives me, is being able to fill whatever voids there happen to be, and to step up and really learn and do the best, be the best that I can at whatever I happen to be doing at the time.
Okay. Well, I know that you have your own party to go to at your job, and I'm glad that they're taking care of you there. Do you want to take this opportunity to just say thank you to a few people that might be watching this or might watch it later?
Absolutely. Yeah. I won't name names because it will just be a mess. But first of all, thank you to the army of volunteers who helped us walk, who staffed some of the events, who staffed tables, who did everything from the major things all the way down to the little things. We wouldn't have made it this far without those folks, and I can't thank them enough for their help and support. To my family, who's always been very supportive, even though they don't understand why on earth their son would want to go into politics. Yeah. They've always been very supportive of me, so I thank them for their support, and thank you to everyone in the community who's been behind me over the last 4 years, whether it's in the city council campaign, the CHAC board, the commissions, whatever. Thank you, everyone. I couldn't have done this on my own, and I greatly appreciate all your help and support, regardless of tonight's outcome.
Well, Chris, thank you for taking time out. I know it's going to be a busy night for you, so I'm glad we got to talk to you before the first set of results come in. And I think we are now going to go to Christiana again, who was at the polls earlier today.
It was like crap, but now they redid it again on the timeline. Oh yeah. Are we ready?
Hello, my name's Timothy Millar. I'm here in Mountain View at KMVT Studios, and I'm here with Jim Means.
Tom.
I'm Tom Means.
That's okay. I changed my name.
Yeah, his name is Tom Means, and Tom is a two-term council member here in Mountain View. He's on his way out. He's not running for election again. And just share your thoughts, Tom. What's your thoughts of this year's elections are, please?
Well, we have 2 terms. I'm in my 2nd term, and it's been a long 8 years. I'm looking forward to going back to academics where I came from and finishing up. I think the council is in good hands. We've got a healthy budget, building, Google, all the companies. It's a very active town still, so I hope the new council members will be able to take that into account, and I think we're in good shape.
So what are the biggest things you're excited about with Mountain View that coming up after this election? What are some of the things that you're looking forward to with the city?
Well, I think we just passed a general plan, and I would say envisioning that Google's got great plans to build the North Bay Shore. Go down to the San Antonio Center. I just toured that last week. the apartments and the housing there and the stores and the restaurants and the open space areas. It's going to be incredible what goes on at San Antonio.
Okay.
And it's going to be amazing.
And so what are are the biggest challenges for Mountain View in the next year or two?
Well, I think it's trying to deal with the fact that a lot of people want to live here. And so, you want to grow, but you want to make sure that in the areas that we have growth, we grow and we don't make it unnecessary, we don't make it too congested. And so I think this is a town that's moving up, and so I think we just stay fiscally responsible and things should go well.
Yeah, and do you see anything, needs or programs to make it more affordable for people who want to live in Mountain View? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts on that, because we've had a lot of issues on this affordable housing stuff, is to build different types of housing. So whether they're small, medium, and large. I moved to this town and couldn't afford to buy a house, but I could buy a small townhome,
right.
And then I rented a small townhome, and then I bought a small townhome, and then I bought a house. So, what I push for in the housing stock is a lot of variation, because, we have people that are kind of what we call the young tech workers that are single. They want to live where near they work, and so they want small units versus people that, want to raise families. And so I think we offer a lot of variety in this town, unlike other towns that, just kind of have one size fits all. So that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah. Do you see any fiscal problems with Mountain View or anything, or concerns that need to be addressed, that are urgently need to be addressed, or any thoughts on that?
Well, sometimes I think we live in a bubble here because, our economy, this local economy is doing well while the rest of the state is not.
Right.
So what I worry about is kind of the differences in, we say, in economics and relative prices. As it gets cheaper in the valley, is that going to encourage more people to locate out there in terms of work, living, and things like that? And so I always worry about that because we are very expensive. If you want to live here, it's expensive, and then the rest of the state's not doing well, so prices are lower, things are cheaper, and I worry about mobility, liquidity, and things like that, what will happen in the future.
Because definitely Mountain View is, and I know Mountain View, Palo Alto, this whole general area, if you look at the real estate market and whatnot, it's smoking hot right now, right? It's
Again,
really doing well.
You have to wonder where the housing bubble was, because we dropped, but we're probably almost all the way back, whereas if you move out into the valley where prices dropped over 50%, they're not even close to recapturing. So, my house is worth more than it was prior to the start of that bubble, so it did drop, but it's gone back up a little.
So you're really happy. Obviously, you must be really happy with that. Then. Yeah. And do you have any kids that have gone through the school district here in Mountain View?
Right. I had two kids. They're grown up. They're off the payroll. So I had one. Both of them went to Mountain View High School. They both went to college. The older one is a musician. He lives in Brooklyn. Brooklyn. And he's working on his teaching credential. He's had a chance to be in a band and tour. And then the younger one was just the opposite. He was a big baseball player. Got drafted, played a year, and now he's working at Chevron. So both kids are doing well, and I think the school district did a good job. They were very well prepared in college and did very well.
Okay. And then Tom, what are you going to do once you're out of office? What do you see yourself doing the next couple of years? And if you have any plans professionally and also with the community, I'd love to hear those as well.
So my phone, I had my phone and I almost went out there. So I'm one of the, I was like the only council member that worked full time. So I was a professor. I'm going to go back to teaching full time. A lot of my research centered on local politics and local issues. So I've done a lot of work on housing impact fees, how to evaluate housing and urban development, cost of community service. I've done a lot of stuff on local government. So all that research, I'm just going to go back again and just keep working on stuff like that. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. Anything with the community itself, or just?
No, I'm nearing retirement, so to speak. I've got over 30 years of teaching, and so I'm getting to where I kind of the old man in the department, and looking forward to probably settling down. I got a grandkid coming in a few months, so
you do? Your first one?
First one, so I think we'll see how that changes life.
Good. Well, we really appreciate you coming here. Once again, we're at KMVT in Mountain View. We're having the election coverage. It's the first year we're having a party here at KMVT. Please feel free to come down. I want to thank you very much, Tom, for joining us. And
I'm going to head on to another party and be out all night doing stuff. Okay.
Well, thank you very much for joining us this evening, and we're going to turn it back onto Christina on the street again. Thank you very much.
There you go.
All right, and we are back inside the studio, and I am here with Oscar Garcia, who is the president and CEO of the Chamber of Commerce Mountain View. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. So are you party hopping tonight? What's going on?
No. This is the only party to come to, right? So, yes.
Very good answer. No. So I know that the Chamber endorsed candidates and measures throughout this season of campaigning. I know that there were two measures that the chamber did endorse that had to do with tax increases, where typically chambers don't necessarily maybe lean that way. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, you're right, Alicia. Typically, chambers of commerce are against any tax increases. Proposition 30, which deals with funding for education, and then also Measure A, which is essentially infrastructure at the county level. One of the things that we hear a lot from businesses in Silicon Valley is that we need to invest in our education and also in our infrastructure. So the chamber felt that it's very important that we support Proposition 30, which is an investment in our education, and then also the infrastructure, transportation here in Santa Clara County.
Okay, no, and that makes sense for a lot of people who are here and are voting for that as well. And I think they're actually passing right now. We'll know at 8:01 the first pass of the votes that come through. So we're monitoring that as that come in. This has been a kind of an active political season for this particular chamber. I think in the past it's been just kind of weighing in on candidates, but not necessarily anything else. What prompted the chamber to be a bit more active in a campaign season?
Well, first of all, the fact that it is a presidential election, and when that happens, we also have council members that are running for office as well in different measures. So certainly the presidential election does add more activity. But the other thing, though, is that we're also a chamber that, although Mountain View, you don't typically hear a lot of issues happening, it is important that the chamber nevertheless be educated on local and county issues and inform our members on what is happening, and maybe take a more proactive stance. And so we actually about 6-7 months ago brought on board just a great government affairs coordinator, Diana Bautista, who used to work for Abel Maldonado. And she's been doing a phenomenal job in really getting out there, digging deeper into the issues and communicating that to our members and educating them, so we can again take a more proactive approach.
And I think that's been important too, because I think the state went through a redistricting, and I think Mountain View out of Santa Clara County probably had the most amount of changes, in the sense of, especially on a state level, Mountain View is more aligned with San Mateo County now, as far as their state representatives as they were before. So there are a lot of new faces and new names that came through the Mountain View community this year. So it was probably really important to kind of emphasize that as well.
Yeah, you are correct. With the whole redistricting, we do have new candidates or assembly members that are going to be representing us, and I think it's important that they hear and they see the positions that we are taking, that our business community and overall as a community as a whole is important to us.
Yeah. Now, I would be remiss, since you already talked about the tax measures and how they related to education, that if anyone has seen Oscar's profile on LinkedIn, you are known as the compassionate CEO. And one of the things that I've seen that you've done with the chamber is really embrace education and the schools and doing scholarships. So did you want to take this opportunity to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned about my LinkedIn profile. I did get a comment about compassionate capitalism. Personally, I believe that I believe in free enterprise and in the opportunity to have the freedom to create your business and to achieve whatever level of success it is that one wants to achieve. But I think to whom much is given, much is expected as well. That we also have a responsibility to be able to give back to others. I also believe that just as we have a hand out to someone, we also have a hand up as well, because we're all part of being interdependent here. We don't achieve success just as an individual. At the chamber, one of the reasons why I really enjoy working at the chamber is because our members, the community as a whole, our board, my staff, we are very focused in what ways that we can give back to the community and support through our different scholarships or other opportunities, Leadership Mountain View or whatnot.
Yeah, so disclaimer, I work at the chamber, but as the program director for Leadership Mountain View, so I'm not partisan in any form, shape, or fashion, but I like having the opportunity to have you talk about the partisan side, if you will, because the chamber does endorse candidates and measures and that sort. So it's really good that you were here today to really talk about it. So thank you for taking time. I know there's a lot of other things going on tonight, and it's been a full day for you already. So thank you for coming here and talking to us and participating in this first ever live coverage that we're doing here at KMVT.
Yes, no, well, thank you for having us. Thank you to KMVT.
Okay, so with that, we are going to go to Christiana, who was at the polls earlier today.
Hello, I'm Christiana State for KMVT. We are here in Los Altos in front of the City Hall, and we are pleased to talk to Joan. Hello.
Hi there, how are you?
Pretty good. So how was your voting experience today? Did you actually vote in a booth, or did you bring your vote by mail ballot?
I brought in my vote by mail because it was very convenient.
That sounds good. A lot of people are doing that. In fact, we're seeing more and more people this year doing it. Now, who did you vote for today?
Well, I won't say any names, but I typically vote conservative and for less government intervention and no taxes.
Okay. Now, regardless of how you voted today, what do you think about Governor Romney, and what are the things that he would do to change the current things that are going on in the country today?
I think Governor Romney would bring ethics back to this country. I think that right now we've gone astray from Clinton onward, and I think that we need someone who has good moral values and good family values. But I'm also in a very liberal state, so I know that that may be a wasted vote.
And how do you think Governor Romney would change the current status of the economy?
I'm not actually sure on all the details of how he would financially bring us back, but I think he's got a strong business ethic and a good set of education on his shoulders. So I think that I'm voting more for the person as a whole than just one specific area. But I also think he believes in not adding more taxes to the burden this country already has. We have to balance our budget. We all have to make tough choices.
So would you say that one of the most important issues for you in this election is the financial state of the country or the economy?
Yes, I'd say it's key in the sense that I don't want to leave for my children or their children the debt that we have right now, and I realize we have a lot of unemployment. My own husband's unemployed, but I really think that we have to stop spending more than we actually have or can do, and that goes all the way up for local government, state government, and federal government.
What are the things that you didn't like about Obama's presidency?
I'm not sure it was Obama as much as the influence that Congress and Senate has on the votes on things. So I don't personally have much against Obama, and I actually think he's a good man and a good father, but I think that as a whole we need a little bit more of a conservative twist and go have the pendulum swing back for both the House, the Senate, and the presidency.
What do you think about Governor Romney's ideas for new policies regarding women's rights to choose, abortion rights?
That would be my only area that I would say that I'm more of a Democrat. Obviously I'm a woman, but I do believe that his religion and some other factors in his life have made him make his choices, but I do believe it's a personal choice. I wish that the whole abortion issue would be taken out of the government and taken out of the decision for people who they're voting for, and that bothers me. That would be the only point about Romney's campaign that I didn't care for.
Interesting. What do you think about the death penalty proposition that was on the ballot today?
I spent less time looking at it. I'm still not convinced of what the efficacy of it is, but I tried to read as much as I could on the internet without finding sites that may or may not have valid arguments on it. So just made my decision as best I could on the educated information I could pick up quickly.
So do you think that given the fact that California doesn't really put a lot of criminals, doesn't actually kill a lot of criminals, and we haven't done that for 6 years, I think, in this state. What do you think that means for putting a value on this law that we have and the death penalty that we have here in the state?
I think the reason in California that we have what you're saying is a lower death rate, even though we have the death penalty here, has more to do with lawyers and loopholes and what lawyers can or can't get involved in. I do think that evil exists, and I believe that evil is in our nation. I'm not convinced that the eye for an eye proverb is the right thing to do with inmates, but then, you look at things like Scott Peterson, And there's a part of me as a wife and a mother who thinks maybe the death penalty was appropriate in that case. But again, I leave this up to the courts and to the, the burden of proof in the courtroom. And that's where I am on it right now. But it's tough. It's a tough one.
How are you going to spend the rest of the day? Are you going to watch on TV later on tonight the results?
No, actually, I am not a registration and or voter day junkie. I plan to go do the errands that I need to do, pick up my child at school for carpool duty, and continue on the day as it is and see how the election turns out at the end after it's over. I think this is going to go on for several days. I don't think this is going to be a clean sweep either way.
You may be right. Thank you so much for your time today, Joan.
You're welcome.
Christiana State for KMVT.
Okay, and welcome back. And now I'm here with Steve Nelson, or do you prefer Stephen?
Stephen usually.
Okay, Stephen Nelson, who is a candidate for the Mountain View Westman School District Board. How are you?
I'm fine.
Well, thanks for joining us, number one. And tell me about why you decided to run for the school board.
I sort of like Bill Lambert had been involved in more about what the board was going on by going to board meetings and stuff and finding out. Mm-hmm. And I really didn't think they did a good job on community input for the school facilities bond. Okay. So it's sort of like if you know how the Ringstorff Park planning process went, it was stretched over a while. They had a lot of public input meetings. Mm-hmm. And there they even decided that we don't have the money to do this whole big park, $163 million park. So they've decided to come back and figure out what they can really afford. So I really thought the school district needed to do that because they had a $423 million plan.
Yeah.
And I've had 3 kids go through the school district, and I've been a teacher again after being a Peace Corps teacher.
Okay.
And so I'm interested in the educational side of it also, besides just how money is spent.
Well, I can admire that because I come from the school of if you don't like the way that something's going, either do something about it or shut up.
Yeah.
So you decided not to shut up.
I decided not to shut up, and if the voters, choose they don't want, one of their 5 people on the board to be somebody who questions more, then I'll probably shut up more.
Okay. Now I will say, I've been living in Mountain View for about 13 years now, so I've been kind of following the different aspects of the community on a whole. And I know that
you're on the Human Relations Committee and ran for City Council.
Okay. But one of the things that I'm curious to know is that this is probably the first time in 10 years that there's been a contested school district race. I think in the past few years, they had enough people, so they just kind of filled them in. But I think this is the first time in
8 years.
In 8 years that it's really been a contested race. How's that been as far as you reaching out and letting people know there's a contested race this time? This is happening.
I think there's been a little problem. We haven't got the engagement with the neighborhood associations that we would have liked to. The city council had lots of neighborhood associations that wanted to invite those councils in, and they sort of forgot that there was a school board race. Yeah. So particularly, that would be one thing I work on even if I didn't get in the board, that the Cuesta Park neighborhood association, which is very active, and I know Bill Lambert has been working on the Montaloma neighborhood association, which is also the 2 most active ones, that we make sure, and plus the downtown one, that all 3 of those, in 2 years when we hope there'll be at least one more person running, so it will be a contested race also, because it makes better debate.
Right.
That those, at least 3 big neighborhood associations will be doing candidate forums just for the school board.
Right.
Because that's one of the things at least 3 of us made big comments that we want to have community engagement more as one of the things that happens between the community and the board and the community.
Well, I want to say good luck to you. I know there's 3 spots and 5 people running. I think everyone that's running so far, they seem to have their hearts invested in this. So good luck.
Yeah, it isn't going to be a caretaker position filling.
Which is excellent. So thank you very much. And I think we are going back to Christiana at the polls once again.
Hello, this is Christiana State with KMVT 15. We're here in Mountain View in front of the City Hall, and we're here to talk to Jigger about his voting experience. Hello.
Hi there.
So who did you vote for today?
I voted for President Obama for president.
Why?
Well, I voted for him in 2008 for many of the reasons around change, and I think in the last 4 years or 3.5 years we've made so much progress, definitely for the long term, but also a lot of progress in the short term, and I thought it's best to keep on that path.
Are there certain things that you did not like about the presidency, Obama's presidency?
Well, there's always more that could have gotten done. I'm a bit of a pragmatist, kind of realizing that only certain things can get done in a certain amount of time, and so I perhaps the only thing is just maybe more could have gotten done, but being practical about it, I think we got a lot of stuff done for the vast majority of Americans.
So what do you think about the state of the economy?
Everything I'm seeing is great news going forward. The numbers are looking great. Housing starts, unemployment, number of jobs being added, all of that. It's great news. It's not where it needs to be, but I see kind of the right trends.
And let's talk about some of the propositions that you voted for today. What do you think about the proposition regarding the 3 strikes law? I forget which way it goes, but in terms of having a little bit more flexibility in terms of handing down a life sentence, I think it's the right way to go. We've heard lots of anecdotes about, someone getting a life sentence for, stealing a slice of pizza or whatever. I mean, maybe that's not a real anecdote, but I think the flexibility that's what I voted for, having flexibility, even though it might be a felony, if making sure that it's a serious crime, and we don't want to put someone away for life for something that might be relatively minor. What about the proposition regarding the death penalty?
For the death penalty, so that one, I'm actually against the death penalty. In this case, though, I've voted to not stop the death penalty, mainly because of the other portions of the proposition. So,
which ones?
It's around the spending for additional police activities, and I just didn't think that the way that money would be spent would be worthwhile. I think I get the feeling that it was tacked onto that proposition to try and get buy-in to do away with the death penalty, and while I am opposed to the death penalty, I don't think that proposition was structured right.
So what do you think is one of the most pressing issues in the country today?
The economy, obviously, but I think probably the biggest issue is, kind of getting back to a realization that it doesn't matter whether you are Democratic leaning or Republican leaning or an independent, that, there's a lot of stuff that we can get done as a country. That's probably the biggest pressing issue in terms of where is this country going to go. If we don't agree that we can actually work together, then we're not going to get anything done, whether it's on the economy or the death penalty or 3 strikes or whatever it is, right? I think we have to have that, reminder that, what, we live together, we should be able to agree on terms and actually get things done.
How did you like the presidential debates? Did you watch them?
Yeah, I watched them. Actually, I was not even in the country. I was in Singapore for all 3 debates. I watched them. They were showing them in Singapore there live. I watched them all. I felt like they could have been a little bit more substantive. But I thought they were good. For me, it reminded me why I was planning to vote for President Obama anyways. Given the types of questions, I think they probably could have talked a little bit more about some big pressing issues besides the economy. That seemed to be everything that it came down to. But
education, I think there's a lot of talk about education.
There was, I feel like it was more platitudes of, hey, everyone, who's going to disagree that education's not a good thing, right? So it's like, it's easy to say that you're all for teachers. It comes down to how the policy is on there. Things like climate change, I think could have been addressed. That's a big pressing issue where, I think there's fiscal effects to that as well, depending on how you want to address climate change.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Christiana State with KMVT.
Hello everyone, I'm Timothy Millar with KMVTV Mountain View. I'm here with Claudia Cruz, the editor of Mountain View Patch. Welcome, Claudia.
Thank you very much for having me.
We're very happy to have Claudia here. Claudia has been out on the street today in Mountain View, and I'm just going to turn it over to you and give us your thoughts, Claudia, if you would, about what was happening in Mountain View here on Election Day.
Well, I'm a Mountain View voter, so I went to my precinct first at the crossings and hung out there for a little bit. And I think some of the most interesting people I bumped into were Russian immigrants, and I was asking them about the difference between voting in the former Soviet Union and then voting here in the United States, and just about the process. And many of them just over and over again, it was, we had no choice. Here, it's incredible the amount of candidates that they can choose. But there was a one-party system, and it was just for show. One woman said, who had brought her granddaughter, her 4-year-old granddaughter, remembers when she was 4 years old and her parents bring her to the polls, and she already understood that it was all a facade. Here, she felt that they were actually voting for something real, and both sets of immigrants that I bumped into at that location voted for Obama in that case, and actually didn't tell me who they voted for in the local elections because they were so focused on the presidential one.
Election. Yeah.
And then I headed over to the Renksdorf Community Center and bumped into a first-time voter, an 80-year-old man who has been a citizen for 32 years but had never voted because he was always traveling. So he was from Taiwan, and his recollection when he did vote in Taiwan was how crowded the polling sites were.
Right.
And his experience at the community center was how calm and relaxed it was. It was pretty. Most people in this county vote early, so he just went in and out with his daughter. And his daughter, actually, beautiful story. She hasn't voted yet. Because she's becomes a citizen on November 29th.
So she just missed it.
So she just missed the elections.
Yeah.
And then I went to Fire Station 1, and again bumped into another first-time voter who is also a citizen, but when she first moved here from the Philippines at an age of 19, she's 24 now, just didn't feel part of the community.
Okay.
And now she wanted to vote because she felt a connection. She felt invested in what was happening in the electoral process. So I think Mountain View electorate is, from my experience, very smart people, just in general, regardless of who they voted for. But they wanted to go out there and wanted to make sure they could vote. And through social media, I kept up with it. So if you want to check out a patch, I took a picture of all of them with their I voted buttons, and it's all on our site.
Can you share with us, with the social media, how Patch is using that and how you used it today and why?
Well, we have just a great platform where we can include all these widgets, and widgets allows you to sort of change the interface that users experience. And we have this thing called Cover It Live. So I've actually been live blogging all day, and I've been out on the field, but each time I tweet, it shows up on this blog.
Right.
And I've been tweeting using Instagram photos as well. So then, now you have not just my tweet with a caption of what these people were doing, but also a photo of them actually voting. And then again, I went to 4 different locations, so I tried to get a range of what Mountain View was like. And then, of course, just updating it with some of the quotes I've received. And now we're live streaming the KMVT show. So it's a lot of social media is very important in this general election.
Yeah, and tell me if you had any experience with any of the Latino people in Mountain View, if you could quickly share with that, if you had any
You know what, I
feedback
did
from
bump into a family, Mountain View Little League family, and they were definitely pro-Obama. I asked him about, were they not disappointed that he didn't pass immigration reform. He said, we're not single-issue voters.
Right.
We still believe he's the right person. They did have very strong feelings about the local elections, but mostly on the propositions. They felt the city of Mountain View was very well governed, so they were not worried as to who was going to be the candidate. So they just focused on the presidential election.
Sounds great. Well, Claudia, I want to thank you for joining us today. It's been great having you here, and thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, and we are back inside the studio, and I am with current Mayor Mike Casper, Mountain View City Council, who is also running this for re-election.
Yep.
So you are one of 2 incumbents for 4 seats, you and John Inks, and then the other 4 people that are running. How you holding up?
It's been a long day. I was up at 4 this morning, couldn't sleep very well, but I also had to be at campaign headquarters this morning at 6. So it's been a long day.
So how is this starting to feel old hand for you, or are you still as nervous as maybe the first time you were up for re-election? Because this will be number 4 for you if you win.
This would be number 4. I've been telling people it takes me back to my trial lawyer days.
Yeah.
This is like waiting for the jury verdict. After you've tried a long case, you just wait, you just sit around and you twiddle your thumbs, you have no control over anything. And then the foreman or the bailiff comes back and says they've reached a verdict, and you have an adrenaline spike. So at 7:59.
I know. I have it on my my tablet right now. When 8:01 hits, I'm going to SCC vote to see what the first round of votes come in to be. So
you never take anything for granted, though. So, and whenever I took an exam, I always thought I would fail. So I was always happy when I got a B or something like that. But so I tend to be a sort of a negative type person right now. So I'm anxious.
Okay. Now, one of the things I touched on earlier today, I was talking to Oscar Garcia about this, which is, for this election cycle, especially for Mountain View, the redistricting was a big deal for this particular city, from as far as I see it, because the way that's from the state point of view, state representatives.
Oh, right, absolutely.
We are now pretty much going to be represented by people who were before more San Mateo County, or still in San Mateo County.
Correct.
But the way that the redistricting worked. Did you find yourself having to, or feeling the need to kind of explain that to people as you were campaigning, or were you just kind of solely focused on this is what's happening in Mountain?
No, I mean, in terms of the city council race, redistricting had no effect.
Right.
I mean, it really just has an effect on state assembly, state senate, and that didn't come up at all during the Mountain View campaign.
But do you think about it as far as relationship-wise? Because I call Mountain View the biggest little city in California, because we just have such a reach. And, because we're not just a 12.2 square mile city that no one's heard of, that's not in the neighboring areas. We're pretty impactful. So have you worked towards those kind of new relationships that may have to?
Well, the good news is I've had really good relationships with the people that are taking us over.
Yeah.
So it hasn't, for me, it hasn't been a big issue. I mean, Rich Gordon, who is going to be will be our assembly member, I'm pretty sure. His office is right at the foot of Rengstorff.
Right.
And so he's sort of been in Mountain View, except he's right across the street. So I've known Rich for years. I've worked with him through the League of Cities, and when he was a commissioner or a supervisor for San Mateo County. I've known Jerry Hill for a couple of years as well. So for them, I mean, interpersonally, it's not much different, but it is a real change from Mountain View, because, the old 22nd Assembly District was Mountain View, Sunnyvale, and Cupertino, and it was a really core community. Now we're spread out all the way to Half Moon Bay.
Right.
And there are a lot of competing interests for our new assembly members, whereas Paul Fong had a pretty locked down district.
Right. So should you be reelected for your fourth term, is there any...
Hopefully in 12 minutes.
Are there any one or two particular items on your list that you would like to see worked on, if not completed, as part of your next term?
Well, one of them will be next Tuesday night, and that's while I'm still on the council, and that's going to be the rental housing impact fee. But we need to get our transportation house in order, and we need to get the transportation house in order for the North Bay Shore. We're going to be doing a lot of development out there once we get that done. And the council has said we can't do a whole lot out there until we get the transportation fixed, and the transportation is really broken. So I think is a sort of, it's not a new initiative, but it's something that really needs to be done, is traffic and transportation in Mountain View are my highest priority.
So I know that it came up to council not too long ago about the whole community shuttle idea. Again, I think it ended up just getting sent back to staff for more information. I'm not sure what's happening with that.
Not a lot. I think it's something that everybody wants, and there's no good way to do it. And so I think we're sort of, and I actually don't remember what we decided. It wasn't anything groundbreaking. It was like, it's going to be a lot of effort to try and do something, and it's great to talk about a community shuttle, but what people want is something really robust, and that's not possible. I mean, it's just not possible, and so we could have one shuttle moving around. That's not going to cut it.
So there's no one good answer, pretty much.
There's no one good answer. I think there are some other better solutions that are a little longer term, a little higher tech, say pod cars.
Yes.
But We'll see. But that's, I think, the biggest issue that impacts people in Mountain View right now is traffic and transportation.
I agree.
And that's the big growth issue.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here, Mike. Good luck tonight.
Well, thank you.
I'll be checking my iPad shortly.
And I will be checking my iPhone. So
with that, we'll turn it over to our next area.
All right.
I'm not sure where that's going to be, but we're having fun.
Thanks, Alicia. Okay. All right.
I'm Christiana State with KMVT. We're here in front of the City Hall in Mountain View, and I'm here with Andrew Gold. Hello.
Hello.
So how was your voting experience like today?
It was great. It was fantastic. It was smooth and easy and straightforward.
Who did you vote for today?
Oh, happily, Barack Obama and Joe Biden.
So it seems that you still have confidence in our president and the Democratic Party.
Oh, very much so. No question about it.
So what are the issues that you found most interesting in this election year?
Well, I found the president to be someone that I feel very strongly can lead our country, and he's very diplomatic. And so all the issues around how he has led in the past as a small business owner and as someone that really has a lot of respect for people who are well thought out and diplomatic. The issues surrounding his foreign policy were particularly interesting to me, and I think that he did an incredible job over the last 4 years.
So what particular aspect of the foreign policy did you like or are you liking in this current presidency?
Sure. Most importantly, I think the issues regarding China were issues that I was very concerned with. I think that the president has addressed China very well and is very open to international business. And I saw some of the remarks by Romney to be quite offensive in how he was planning to handle China. And as I was watching the second debate in a room full of foreign students, I felt embarrassed to even see some of the comments that were made regarding China and foreign policy specifically.
That's interesting. Now, what do you think about the state of the economy?
Oh, I think that we're in natural flux. I think that the 8 years before Obama was in office were tragic in many senses of the word, and I believe it just takes time to rebound and recover from those 8 years. And I think that the president and the vice president are doing everything that they can to work through the issues from the past, and I think that they're actively and aggressively pursuing ways to heal the economy. So I'm confident that the next 4 years we'll see a continued improvement.
Did you support any local candidates?
I did.
Who did you support?
I supported all the Democrats.
Okay. How about the propositions on the ballot? What do you think about the death penalty proposition?
Well, I'm not in favor of the death penalty, so I voted naturally, and I had to go back and look at exactly the details, but I'm very much against death penalty. So.
Okay, what about the proposition regarding labeling genetically modified foods?
Oh, very much an advocate of transparency. So I'd very much like to see a time when people can walk in and look at any product and know exactly where it comes from and what exactly went into manufacturing that product, including, to take it a step further, I'd love to see a day when we know what the people's lives were who are the state of their lives that created the product. So really understanding the energy that went into it, the people's lives that did the manufacturing to make sure that there were not, there's no unfair treatment there, and also full transparency to consumers about the ingredients that go into all products.
That sounds good. What about the measure that is trying to limit the salaries that the El Camino Hospital executives are going to take? And to remind you, the measure is trying to limit their salary to at most twice the governor's annual salary. What do you think about that?
Oh, I very much voted to restrict the salaries. And
why?
And to keep them in line. Well, I think that there really shouldn't be any publicly held positions out there that could potentially make more than the governor makes of the entire state.
But if the board decided, from the El Camino Hospital, if the board decided that those salaries are sort of median salaries within the country, wouldn't that take their decision away to the people decision?
Well, I didn't elect to put the board in place on that particular issue. So, I think that there's a serious problem in the country with healthcare costing too much. And I think that this is just one of the steps that we can take to try and, the people can take into their own hands to try and limit the amount that's being spent on healthcare. And those costs really do roll up into the cost of overall healthcare. So I'd rather see officials that are comfortable in their state of life, and they take the position not for driving their own personal revenues, but really driving services to the public.
That sounds good. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Christiana State for KMVT.
Hello everyone, I'm Timothy Millar and I'm here with Chris Chang. He's a candidate for the Mountain View School Board. Yes. And I just want to introduce Chris to everybody. Chris, just give us a real quick thing on your background.
Sure.
And then also why you're running for school board. We'd love to hear that.
Thank you. I'm a middle school teacher. I've been a school teacher for the last 8 years. I teach at Sacred Heart in Atherton. It's a Catholic school, but I spent the 8 years before that in public schools.
Right.
I taught a little bit in New York City, where I met my wife, who's also she's also a school teacher. And then came back here and spent the last 5 years teaching at Cupertino and Monte Vista High School.
Okay.
And was there at 2010 was their Teacher of the Year. And
congratulations.
Thank you.
That's great.
So I loved teaching there. It was a great school, and I got really interested in doing technology. So I stepped away from the classroom to help work with teachers on training teachers on how to use technology. I did that at Castilleja School.
Okay.
And then just recently been working my way back into the classroom.
Okay. And explain your philosophy about, you and I had a chance to talk before we were on the air, but give us a little bit about your philosophy about education, because it's very refreshing to me to hear what you were speaking about. And if you could share that with the people, we'd love to hear, hear that.
So, in my 8 years experience, we've been working out, mostly in the publics, but now also in the independent schools. I've been seeing that I'm increasingly concerned about the state and the local community's focus on test scores, standardized test scores, and it's what I'm realizing as a parent and as an educator is you look around at what children need to succeed, and there's so much more than what the standardized tests measure. But as a teacher, I know that unless you measure something, it's not the priority of the schools or the teachers themselves. What we measure gets done. So I got involved in the school board race because as an educator, I got really concerned that if we don't have the courage and innovation to start measuring more than what the state of California tells us to measure, then we're not going to really prepare our kids for the 21st century. And there's so much work now, whether it be by journalists or researchers about what kids need to succeed. And there's this great book out by Paul Tough, and he's talking about how when it comes down to it, more than test scores or IQ scores or SAT, you need grit, you need character, and you really need all this this kind of a toolbox of social emotional skills.
Yeah.
And it's so easy for those things to get left behind if all we're measuring is the standardized test.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're focusing on issues and putting some more weight other than grades, what are your thoughts if you get elected to office? How is the rest of the school board or the community going to react to you? I mean, what's your feelings about that?
Well, I've been walking and canvassing the neighborhood and talking to and meeting with PTAs, and it's been really encouraging that it's resonating with parents, because I think everyone around us, especially in this community, sees there's so much that it's such a challenging world our kids are entering, and they're going to need so many skills. What's so interesting about this community is there's this desire to innovate. So I really think that it's going to be very well received if we reach out to parents and say, when they leave 8th grade, because we're a K-8 district, what are the skills and values do you want your child to have when they leave us in 8th grade? And then we need to then figure out, innovate metrics that align with those. So, if we're measuring things that aren't the things that families value, and we're not measuring or the things that we do value, then, we're not going to get the results we want from the schools. So, and this is something that a lot of parents have been excited about, and something that, so when I've been talking to people have really responded well to it.
And how are there other members of the school board who share your similar philosophy, or that you could be working together, that you envisioned that you could be working in concert with them?
I believe so. I can't speak for them, but then, we have a very progressive community, and among the candidates, many of the other candidates, they work in this industry, the technology industry. So they see at their own jobs that, just memorizing facts and being able to do just kind of simple math and not being able to problem solve, and especially not be able to problem solve with somebody else collaboratively. They know that that's not how their workplace is.
Right.
So I believe the board believes that they would support this. That's what I've seen, and that's what I'm looking forward to working with them on. I just think that they need an educator's voice on realizing that we need metrics that align with this, because they don't realize that when they talk about test scores all the time, how that trickles down to the classroom. And that's how we decide what gets cut in our curriculum.
Yeah. You had mentioned innovation. Tell me, you said you spent some time working on innovation and training some other What were you doing? Tell me about that, please, if you don't mind.
So I left the classroom because I became a Google certified teacher in 2007, and it got me into this world of looking at working with local companies, and I'm looking at what is their workplace like? Because when you're a teacher, your job is so insulated from the rest of the world that I really didn't have a clue. Since I'm a career educator, I didn't really have a clue what it was like at Google or Microsoft. So I became a Google certified teacher.
Okay, what is a Google certified teacher for people who don't know what a Google certified teacher is?
It's a great program where Google brings in teachers to kind of immerse them in the way they work and the tools they're using, and to try to kind of, their goal is to help educators prepare a future workforce. And so that's something that a lot of it's kind of focuses on looking at collaborative tools, giving kids the ability to search for information and really kind of take ownership of the learning, because in a traditional model, the teacher controls all the learning. And in the 21st century, what you can memorize is no more valuable than what you can Google. So it's that's something that they've been really pushing, and they've been doing that for the last now 5 years. From there, I also became a Microsoft Innovative Educator. They created a program similar to Google, and I was working with they were doing the same thing, trying to help educators see what do they demand in their future employees. So working with that, it got me so interested in realizing that the training of technology is something that teachers don't get much opportunity to do. So it was a passion of mine, so I decided to jump in and help teachers with that.
Chris, we're out of time. I really enjoyed meeting you and meeting you here, and best of luck with the election.
Thank you.
Wherever you end up, you're on an interesting path. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and we are back, and I'm back here with Nick Veronin, who is with the Mountain View Voice. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So we're just winging this thing. We're having a lot of fun tonight, and we've gotten the first set of election results from the Santa Clara County voter registers. So we're just going to look at them real quick, and we'll comment a little bit and keep going. So it looks like for the El Camino Hospital the hospital district, right now the leader is John Zeden with 23.93% of the vote, followed by Julia Miller, and then Dennis Chu.
Okay, well, that's surprising. Maybe it's not surprising, but we at The Voice endorsed both the incumbents. We felt that they had a lot of experience. John Zeden's one of the incumbents, but Julia Miller is a very well-known personality in the South Bay. She was former mayor of Sunnyvale. She's been on a lot of local boards. And governmental bodies, East Bay, not East Bay, the Bay Trail for one.
Right.
And then what was the third candidate you said was?
Is Dennis Chu.
Oh yes, Dennis Chu. One of the two very strong challengers that we interviewed at The Voice. He knows a lot about the hospital district. He's done his homework, and he. Excuse me. He's a lawyer, and he has a lot of knowledge about this issue that didn't come up much in my reporting, but perhaps should have. The GAN limit. I'm not I'm not an expert on it, but Mr. Chu said that the GAN limit was being used by the hospital to pay less into their community fund than they really could have, than they could have. And so he was saying that was one of the things he was going to look into if he were elected.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily a bad. So, and it looks like, so for people at home who are probably following the election results for the first time or wondering why we had to wait to 8 o'clock, obviously once because that's when the polls close. And when the registered voters put the first results in, that's pretty much all the vote by mail people that have submitted them earlier. So the numbers will change periodically throughout the night, but everyone's usually pretty interested to see what the first, set of numbers looks like, because that can kind of set the pace. So, and right now too with Bill James and Wesley Ellis, is that how you say?
You say it's Alice, like Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
Sorry, Wes.
Yeah. they're running close, so it's not a landslide by any stretch of imagination right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're averaging between 23 and 17% of the vote, so it's only a couple of percentage points right now.
Well, close election.
Yeah, so those are fun. So now I'm going to scroll up to the Mountain View City Council, and that's 4 seats that are open, and those are actually running pretty close too. We have at 19.01%, Mike Casper's leading the vote. That's about 5,435 votes. But he is closely followed, it's almost a 3-way tie, between Margaret Capril at 16.8, but actually John Inks too at 18.47, Chris Clark at 18.53, and McAllister at 18.70. So right now, those are still running pretty close as well. The only one that's kind of a distant one is newcomer Jim Neal. He's at 8.49% right now. So is any that surprise you right now?
No, that sounds about right from what I've been paying attention to in my colleague Daniel DeBolt's reporting. But
yeah.
Daniel DeBolt is the City Hall reporter, so I would have to defer to him. I'm not sure if he's here. I know he's going to be coming here tonight, so maybe you guys can get him on later.
I know early he was stuck in New York earlier on during Superstorm Sandy.
That's right.
That's a horrible name, by the way. Sounds like a sale. Okay, on our last minute, let's quickly talk about Mountain View Westman School District, and that's 3 people that will be voted in. And right now, Chris Chang is in the lead with 26.65% of the vote, or just under 4,800 votes. And he is followed by Steve Nelson at 24.3%, with Bill Lambert third at 20.17%.
Okay. Yeah, I've been running around here, your studios all evening, talking to these folks, because I'm going to be writing a story tonight that you can look for on the Mountain View Voice website. Not much to say about that so far, other than all these candidates are really passionate about the school district. They've all either had children in the district, have children in the district, or will have children in the district.
Okay.
As you may or may not know, the Voice endorsed
Is it
excuse me.
PG&J?
Yes, that's right. Bill Lambert, Jim Pollert, and Peter Dara.
Well, they're making me go.
Okay.
So, but thank you. We'll be back. We'll talk about this more, and we will go to our next interview.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've been talking about that. Hello, everyone. I'm Tim Millard. I'd like to introduce my guest, Bill Lambert. He's a candidate for the Mountain View School District. Bill, welcome to our program, and thank you for coming out here this evening.
Thank you very much.
Bill, you just shared with me a little bit of your background. This is your first time running for office for the school district.
Yes.
And are we on?
No, they're microphone. Should I? Can you guys microphone?
Oh, do you need mics?
Yeah. We're not right now, though, are we?
I believe so. They're all yelling at us. Yeah.
They're all yelling.
Is that good? That's good. Yeah. Here, I'll just set this behind you.
Okay.
You got it? No. Damn. Excuse me.
I'm sorry? I'm okay. So, Bill, sorry about that. I guess neither one of us had our mics on, so they didn't hear anything. Once again, I'm Tim Millar with KMVT. I'm here with Bill Lambert, candidate for the Mountain View School District. Bill, if you could just share a little bit of your background and what you were involved with in Mountain View before deciding to run for office, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, sure. I moved here with my daughter about 10 years ago from the East Coast. My daughter went to 8th grade here at Crittenden Middle School just next door, and was a freshman at Los Altos High. So as a single parent, I raised her, and that took up a lot of my time. But about 5-6 years ago, she went off to college, and I had some extra time, and I read about in the newspaper. You're always hearing about the press about how the the state budget crisis, how it's affecting the schools. And I decided to get involved in teaching, doing volunteer work at the local elementary school here in Mauna Loma, teaching advanced math and science to the kids there. I did that for about 5 years, and then as I was doing that process, I sort of got interested in what the school board was doing. I've been attending all of the school board meetings for the last couple of years just to see how the district runs, and that's been a very fascinating experience.
So you have an inside view in the classroom, but also from attending all of these meetings.
Yes.
And so what do you think you would be bringing that would be refreshing or new to the school board if you're elected to that position?
Well, one thing I've said throughout my campaign is I live in the Mauna Loma neighborhood, and if you look at the people who run for city council, serve in city council, on the school commissions and on the boards, most of them are from other parts of town other than, let's say, call it North Mountain View here.
Okay.
And specifically the areas that are serving the elementary schools and at Mauna Loma, Castro, and Therakoff schools. And one of the reasons for running for the board was that I feel that I represent this part of the community. I'm familiar with it, and I felt a great need for someone on the board to represent this part of the community. And so that's one of the things I'm looking forward to if I get elected, is really to represent this part of the community, which, by the way, in our K-8 schools is 70% Hispanic in this part of town.
So what do you think is the biggest challenges for what you'd have to address if you're elected? I'd love to hear, what do you think, or what are the top 1 or 2 things that you think need to be addressed with the Mountain View School District?
Well, I think it's shown even within the district that the programs that are being implemented in the school district right now that are most successful are the ones where there's tremendous amount of parent involvement. It could be the dual immersion program at Castro. Yeah. It could be the Stevenson School, where you have active parent participation. So I think that's a real key to education, having successful programs. So in my mind, the biggest challenge is to get all of the parents in one way or another highly involved in the school district, not just coming to PTA meetings, not just coming to open houses, but really actively involved in their kids' education, not only at the schools, but at home as well.
So that sounds good. So do you have anything, do you foresee possibly them being involved in the classroom, parents involved?
A lot of the school, I think they have a lot of programs like that, volunteering. I think what I would like to see more than anything, I think one possibility, and I think it will work very well in this part of the community, is having very well organized and enriching after-school programs where the kids can stay after school. They can have advanced programs, they can have remedial programs, extra help with English language learning. You can have the parents come in and get involved too. Plus, there's one resource this community has tremendously. We have so many very well-educated people, so many very generous people to do volunteer work, and like me, who are sort of nascent or frustrated teachers at heart, who could volunteer after school, helping these kids. And so I see more of this a community school kind of an idea that would work very well for a lot of the schools around here, and it could even extend in the evenings for the parents.
And I just was handed a note here, so I just got distracted here just for a second. What do you think about, are there any financial constraints, or how is the finances of the city of Mountain View, the school district? I mean, is there any issues there that you would have to focus on?
Well, I think that faced with, sort of always imminent budget crisis, I think our school district and Superintendent Goldman and his staff have done a really good job of managing the money, being very, very conservative, trying not to cut programs, building up a reserve just in case, let's say, Proposition 30 doesn't pass. I'm pretty positive about it because I think we do live in a community that really supports our school, that education is one of the most important things, if not the most important things in our lives, educating our children. So, I'm positive that they find a way to, to get the financial resources. That, as a community, we will.
Sounds good.
To make
I want to thank you so much, Bill. We're out of time here. I really enjoyed having you here.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Hi, I'm L.A. Chung, and I'm here for KMVT, your community access station. I'm at the First and Main Sports Lounge, which is in downtown Los Altos. I'm with Annabelle Pelum, who is one of 6 candidates for City Council. Annabelle is our first stop as we go along tonight, talking to candidates where they're having their election night celebrations. Annabelle, I know Tuesday has been a day of rest because there's not too much you can do, but tell me about your last days campaigning Sunday and Monday.
Sure. Well, we walked on Sunday night, and I was amazed at how many people we encountered that remained undecided. I thought by this time people had mailed in their ballots, so we weren't sure what we were going to encounter, but we were walking off of San Antonio, and I think there were 6 votes acquired that night alone. I was starting to lose my voice, so I wasn't sure how it would all work out. But I talked to a lot of people, and I think people are really engaged with the process. And it went well. In fact, we walked until dark. We had to remember the daylight change. So it got dark on us before we realized. But it went well, really well. I was lifted up by it. I felt buoyant afterwards. Yeah.
I guess mercifully the time change gave you a little bit less daylight so you could walk and your voice can last a little bit. Now tell me, I keep getting these Facebook updates about trees that you encounter on your walks. Tell me about your strategy of walking. Where did you walk? When did you start walking? What is this walking about?
Right, okay. Well, I started walking back in May, and the reason I did that is because I'm a professor at San Francisco State, and school was out in May. So I started walking in the south of Los Altos. We divided Los Altos up into 10 districts, and number 10 was the farthest south, and 1 was the farthest north. So I started walking in May, just district by district by district, walking from south to north. And from May until November is what I did. And I think I know Los Altos very well indeed now. So whatever happens with the election, I know a lot about Los Altos. And many people were a little shy about having their photos made. So what I did is I started collecting photographs of flowers and trees and yard art and things like that, because I think people felt more comfortable with that. And so, yeah, I had quite a lot going on Facebook. And I just hope people didn't mind my fruits and vegetables and trees.
Well, in the process of doing these walks, I assume you were trying to introduce yourself to voters and trying to explain what you were about. What was your message?
Yeah, well, 2 major things I think was that I wanted to bring a kind of a culture change to the City Council, and what I mean by that is an attitude of respect and inclusion, and reaching out to the community. We've got a lot of engaged and smart people in Los Altos, and I would love for them to be part of the process in creative solutions to our problems. So that was one important thing. And I was also talking about what I could bring. I am a social scientist. I do study cities. I know how to make cities better. So I was sharing a little bit about my experience with that kind of research.
Were you finding people who had never met a candidate for local office?
You would be amazed. I was the first one in many, many cases, because I would just go door to door to door. And many people told me I was the first one they'd met that was running for council, and the first one they'd met in years and years. So I really enjoyed chatting with people. I got acquainted with a lot of dogs and cats, and I learned a lot about yard art. And one thing I decided to do was to get a welcome sign, because when I saw a welcome sign at the doorstep, I really did feel welcome. So I went out and bought one for myself.
In case a candidate comes to your door in the future.
Comes along, they'll feel welcome. That's right.
Did you wear out any shoes?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. I've worn out 3 pair of Cole Haan shoes. Yes, I have.
Boy, that can be really hard on the checkbook, I was going to say.
Yes, I'm hoping the company will look upon me with mercy and maybe replace 1 or 2 of them. Yeah, I have. But it was well worn. And just the opportunity to see the hills from the highlands and the variety of orchards that we have and the gorgeous homes and lovely people. It was worth every minute. I enjoyed it.
Well, thank you very much, Annabelle. I really appreciate it. Good luck tonight. We may not find out tonight. Maybe we'll find out tomorrow.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Okay, we are back in the studio right now. Things are a little crazy right now because CNN has just projected that President Obama has gotten re-election, but I'm still waiting. We're going to see what happens, but for right now, that's what's being projected right now. And this is almost perfect because my next guest is a dear friend of mine whose last name I always butcher, so I'm not even going to try to say it. Introduce yourself, Marta.
Well, I am Marta Donaire.
Yes, and I wanted Marta to be here because this past Friday, she was sworn in as a U.S. citizen. And the other thing that I love about that is, what is the first thing you went to do after you were sworn in?
After I was sworn in, we got into our car and we drove directly to the Register of Voters.
Yeah.
I registered to vote and I voted.
That is awesome. So you want to show them what you got with when you registered?
My tax dollars got me this beautiful certificate with my photo. I had to buy this folder-like thing. But yeah. I got a little American flag.
Yeah.
Probably made in China, I don't know.
I just love the fact that I think it's been a recent law that just passed that allowed you to be able to register to vote right on that same day instead of having to wait a 7-day period.
No, actually the way it works is for new citizens who become citizens between the deadline for the registration and election day.
Yeah.
So if you become a citizen like I did last Friday, you can go to the Register of Voters, register, and vote all the way until the time of closing the polls.
That's amazing.
On today, for instance.
So, I mean, I was just excited for you. I was following everything on Facebook that Friday. It's like, where's the party? It's going to be great.
Yeah, I know.
So, how did it feel for you to go and do this? Like, how was it for you when you got sworn in? Was it everything you thought it was going to be? What kind of describe the scene?
As you may remember, my wife Leslie and I have had a lot of immigration issues in the past.
Yeah.
I was fortunate to be able to get a green card, but there's always this ominous thing on the back of your neck that something may go wrong at some time because after September 11th, a lot of anti-immigration bills were passed. And even though I was a resident, that didn't mean that I was safe from anything.
Right.
And somehow that weight came off. I didn't think I was going to feel anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were saying earlier, I've been here for 17 years, going on 18 next January.
Yeah.
And I just figured, whatever, just change my status. But no, it actually feels different. And the fact that I was able to go and vote, I also didn't think it was going to be a big deal. But it does feel different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny. We were talking to some people in the studio before we talked tonight, and it's amazing that you probably know more about the Constitution than the average American because everything that you have to learn to pass the test and do everything like that.
Yeah, maybe. But you know what? I don't know about the people here because I don't know a lot of people. I haven't met them, but I know that I found out the test online at the UCIS website, and I posted it on Facebook. But a lot of my friends like you are very politically involved. So most of them aced it.
Well, I'm just excited for you. I'm glad that you took time out because I know you and Leslie have been busy, and she works for Assemblymember Fong, so she's been working.
Who passed the bill that enabled me to vote?
So that's a lovely connection there, and she's probably at home now, like, I don't want to leave the couch right now.
Yeah, she was doing get out to vote calls until not too long before I came out here.
So what advice do you give for people who are going through the process right now, just to endure, be patient? Any kind of advice you can give for people that are still waiting for this moment for them?
Prepare.
Yeah.
Prepare. The test, the questions and the answers are exactly the same.
Yeah.
Prepare your English. The English part of the exam is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was given a piece of paper and said, read what says here. And it was a question, and it said, who lives in the White House? And I looked up to the woman, and I said, well, the president. And then she grabbed that same sheet of paper, turned it around, and said, okay, right here, the president lives in the White House. The president lives in the White House. That was the English test.
Okay. Well, thank you, darling. So glad that you're here. Again, it
My
sounds like
pleasure.
right now the President Obama has gotten re-election, but we'll keep
So
following
far,
that.
it was a projection, and I hope it comes true.
Absolutely. And with that, we'll go to whoever we're going to next.
Okay.
Take it away.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Timothy Millar and I'm here with Jim Pollard, candidate for the Mountain View School District. Jim, thank you so much for joining us here on election night. There's a lot of activity here in Mountain View, but we're so glad you joined us this evening.
My pleasure.
And let's just jump into things here, Jim. Just if you could really quickly tell us about why you're a candidate for the school board, why you're running.
Sure. So I've lived in town 15 years with my wife. I have 2 kids who go to Mountain View schools. And I've always been very interested and just passionate about education and about our local schools in particular. And what's unique about this election is, number one, 3 of the 5 board members are not running for re-election. So there's going to be 3 new board members. So that's an opportunity for some fresh ideas and so forth. Secondly, the voters in Mountain View passed Measure G in June, which is a $198 million bond measure. So that's going to have a very big positive impact on all of our school sites. And I have my professional background is in development and construction, so I thought I would be a sort of good person to have on the board.
Okay.
And then lastly, I've been involved in something called Share Shoreline, which has been a group of parent volunteers who've been working with the city to negotiate a long-term agreement where the city shares property tax revenues from the North Bay Shore area. It's a lot of money. Right. We did a 3-year interim agreement in early 2011 where the city provided $13.8 million for local schools over 3 years, and we're trying to negotiate a permanent agreement. So those are sort of the really exciting things that got me to decide to take the plunge this time around.
That's great. Tell us about, do you see any new challenges or big opportunities? What are the biggest challenges or opportunities you see here in the near future that, if you're elected, would be something you'd be having to deal with?
Right. So big one is Measure G, which I just mentioned. Yeah. It's going to have a big impact on our district. Share Shoreline is another big opportunity. Right. Beyond that, I would say the sort of main priorities would be to just continue to maintain the pace of improvement that we've seen in our schools in the last 5 years. Our schools have been dramatically improving in the last 5 to 8 years. And if we can continue that pace of improvement for another 5 years, we're going to be in a really, really good place. We're in a good place now, but we'll be in an even better place. And the other thing I would say is our district, I think there's room for improvement in terms of community engagement. I think that a lot of the parents in this community are involved at the school level, but not really at the district level. And so I'd like to see just more community engagement around what's going on at individual schools as well as throughout the district.
Yeah. And what are some of your ways you improve that involvement?
Well, actually, I was talking to your executive director about televising school board meetings, which I think would be a really good idea.
Yeah.
I know that I'm interested in what goes on at school board meetings, but I can't always go out Thursday night and sit at the district office. I think also having school board meetings at individual school sites to make them more accessible to people. I think improving the district's website, making it more informative, just more outreach, sort of more communicate, just pushing information out to the community. I think there is a big group of people in this community that are interested in and want to support the schools, and we just need to do a better job connecting with those people and giving them information, pushing information, and getting them excited and engaged.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on technology and how it's affecting the schools and the children who are in it at this point? Is there anything that you see with that? We've seen such a shift in Mountain View, like you said, in the last 5 or 10 years, and just with the wealth of intelligence of the parents of the people in here and just changes in technology. Have you any thoughts on that and how that's affected learning?
Well, the the district is doing a pilot program with a software package called Khan Academy right now in several of the schools, and that's really exciting. And Khan Academy is a nonprofit that happens to be based right here in Mountain View. And was founded by a guy named Sal Khan, who I know and is interested in doing more work with the district. So I think that's really exciting. So that's the thing that pops into my mind. I think that's a good opportunity for us.
Now I know Mountain View too, I think it's at the Castro School District, they have a Spanish immersion program as well. Any thoughts on Spanish immersion and how that's working out with the community?
It's working out phenomenally. I mean, Castro School is actually the best story in our district in the last 5 years. Most people think of Huff and Bub as the two, quote, most desirable schools in the district. But Castro is an amazing story. And the kids in the DI program are incredibly successful on the standardized tests. So I think that program, we should do everything we can to support it, which we are. I think we should look at expanding it because it's been so successful and it's very desirable. And I would say the same thing about the Stevenson PACT program, the parent participation program, which has also become very, very popular. And so those are two really innovative, very successful programs we have going in our district, which should be supported, and we should investigate expanding those.
Well, Jim, I just want to thank you so much. I enjoyed meeting you, and I enjoyed hearing your thoughts, and let's see how the election goes. Now we're going to take a look at the, I believe, national elections, maybe some of the local elections, but we're going to go over to that. Thank you.
KMVT 15 has been serving the community since the late 70s and became a nonprofit community media center in the early 80s, bringing you local television programming from local volunteers. KMVT Community Media is located right here in the heart of Silicon Valley. We provide hands-on training, equipment, and airtime to our users to build community and empowerment through the expression of media. Our youth camps support hundreds of students yearly and allow their voices to be heard. KMVT has well over 100 volunteers of all ages who come into our studio each and every month to produce local programming. Programming ranges from talk shows on community issues, cooking shows, local artists, magazine news programming, and live entertainment, and much, much more. We cover over 100 sporting events, including football, softball, baseball, volleyball, and basketball. We also cover local events like the Art and Wine Festival, Veterans Memorial Day, and the Spring Parade. KMVT provides coverage of local elections, debates, and candidate statements. We offer something for everyone, whether you're a youth, adult, senior, a nonprofit business, or even a for-profit business. So why is KMVT important? Because it's programming like this that brings a community together. We also provide full hands-on training for all ages in studio production and field work, graphics, editing, and an understanding of media in a world surrounded by noise. So we ask the next time you turn on your television or you want to support an important cause, think KMVT 15, your local community television station, bringing the community together through all forms of media. Support community media and television today.
Sign up today.
Okay, and we are back here in the studio. Again, there's a lot of pandemonium going on right now because, again, CNN, I think Fox News, has also called President Obama winning re-election. So hopefully your person won. Mine won. So I am here now with Peter Dara.
Yeah, nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, he is a candidate for the Mountain View Westman School District's Board of Trustees.
Indeed.
How's it going?
Oh, well, I guess the preliminary results are in, and it looks like I'm losing so far, so I can't say it's going great.
Well, Well, I would say as someone who's kind of had to follow these things for the past few years, the first set of numbers that come up are like all the mail-ins and just a couple of precincts. So wait till the 10 p.m. numbers.
All right, I won't get too wound up then.
So I've heard your name. Your reputation has preceded you, at least in my case. But this is my first time meeting you. So I want to ask you, just kind of in general, what made you decide to run for this position?
Oh, thanks. It's a good question. My kids went to school in the district, and actually they're still at Graham Middle School. And my wife is also a teacher in the district, and just over the years I've gotten more and more involved with. I was on the district's budget task force and Mountain View Educational Fund, and then Fiona, came up to. She's on the board now. She came up and said, "Well, I'm stepping off. It's
What are you going to
do?" Exactly, and school districts don't run themselves. It takes volunteers like us to get out there and stay on the board.
So was it easy for you to go, okay, I will run for office, or did you have to get a little nudged in there a little bit?
No, well, it's a pretty big decision to run for office too. You're used to living in your own little house, in your own little world, and going to your own little job, and then you really have to put yourself out there and go door to door and talk to lots of people. But I did this for the kids. That's what's important. They're really our future, and I believe in supporting them. So, yeah, I don't know, like city council, who cares about zoning, in a Chick-fil-A? But I mean, when it comes to your kids and making good schools, to me, that's really important.
So what's been maybe one of your biggest takeaways during the election process? Did you kind of enjoy, did you walk neighborhoods? Is there something that you learned that maybe you didn't think you would learn or appreciate?
Yeah, it was actually, that's one thing I liked is I took door hangers around to a lot of neighborhoods in Mountain View, and I got to see places that I haven't seen before. There was a funny moment when I was handing out flyers in the Bub neighborhood, and an older Chinese woman didn't really understand what I even wanted, and I explained, I'm running for school board, and eventually she understood it, and she goes, "You want this?" And I was like, "I hope so. It's 4 years. It's a lot of work."
Okay, so let's talk about PB&J.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So how did you guys end up kind of teaming up with each other and deciding to come up with this acronym and kind of help each other out?
Actually, Laura Blakely is another woman who's very involved in the community, and I think she thought of that. And we just campaigned together and liked each other.
Yeah.
And Laura came up with the acronym actually.
Well, it's successful. I mean, you can't help but get it out of your brain when you hear it the first time.
Yeah,
it's very apropos to the school district. So my last question to you would be, should you be elected, because it's still a possibility, again, it's early results, it's early, but should you get elected into office, what's kind of like the one main thing that you would like to see worked on, achieved under your leadership?
There's so many different things. I mean, there's at least two things. One is continue the district's effort to educate the kids. I mean, that's its fundamental job. Yeah. And there's a lot of little things you can do to make sure that every kid gets educated to their potential.
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely want to, we have kids of very, very different abilities. And we have parents who don't send their kid to the neighborhood school because they just look at the scores and it's like, oh, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
But then also there's the Measure G too. We're going to do $200 million worth of construction in our school district.
Yeah.
And the face of that, how that gets done, I hope the community gets way more involved in the decision-making process than we have been so far. So
hopefully you'll be able to help make that happen.
Definitely.
It's definitely sounds easier than it is, but I have faith that if you're in, that you can help make that happen.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. So it sounds like, again, national news is on President Obama winning re-election. The local game has not been called yet, not by a long shot. So with that, we're going to go over to Claudia Cruz, who is over at Agave in downtown on Castro to Margaret Caprilis' party.
Thanks.
Welcome to this evening's live broadcast via KMVT of Election Night November 2012. I'm Claudia Cruz, editor of Mountain View Patch, here with City Council candidate Margaret Capril. How are you? How are you feeling tonight?
Oh, very excited. Delighted to be here. Glad to have had a great candidacy and just looking forward to the results.
You know, I know the campaign results are beginning to come in. Right now, 2 precincts reporting out of 33. You're in 5th place, but it's still a pretty close rate. How do you feel? How confident do you feel about the race that you ran and hopefully the results of tonight?
I'm very confident about the race that I ran. I feel that I was there for the community, and that's what I was working toward on my platform. And I also want I had an opportunity to meet some great people in the city of Mountain View, and regardless of the outcome, it's been just an amazing journey. So just really delighted to have this opportunity.
And you know, this is your first campaign. You know, there's some other candidates, they ran it in 2008. So how did you get your feet wet? Like, how do you feel? You say you feel great for the campaign that you ran. If tonight doesn't go the way you planned it, will you do it again in 4 years? Or 2 years?
That's hard to say right at the moment, but you never know. I usually have a tendency to jump in feet first with most things that I do, so I'll see how it goes, and then I'll make that decision when I'm at that place.
And from the people who are here tonight, I mean, you have so many supporters. I mean, could you have done this without them?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is when you know people that you've known over the years, and these people are not only from Mountain View, they're from Cupertino and Los Altos, and so I have supporters from afar, which feels just amazing. And so just knowing that support is there with me really will encourage me to kind of move forward and do whatever is the next step.
So these last couple days of campaigning, you know, was it knocking on doors? Was it, how did you try to motivate the vote on your behalf these last couple days?
I think more than anything by word of mouth. I think the people that know me, they say, but I want to get the word out. So will you bring a sign to me? Will you bring me some of your pamphlets? And I'm going to talk to other people because I know who you are, and I'm happy, and I will want to support you, and I want others to know that as well. So word of mouth more than anything, but also a lot of walking and knocking on doors.
Excellent. And, you know, if elected tonight, what is the first thing that you want to get going on as a new member of City Council?
Absolutely, the transportation. We've seen that with all the accidents in the area, and I think there are a number of initiatives that have already started going around town, and I think that we'll definitely look at that to make sure we've got safety for the pedestrians and the bikes.
And as the only woman candidate, what things, again, not to single out the men or the women, but what kind of things would you focus on as far as, and you're in the board of directors of CHAC, but you've been on the board of directors of CHAC.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's all right. I was on the board of the YMCA.
The YMCA, but no,
yes.
It's still very family-oriented.
Exactly.
Place. So what kind of things do you want to do for families here in Mountain View?
Well, I think the families are looking for places to live and where they can be safe and where their children can get to and from school very comfortably, and they can feel like they've got a community that cares. So we want to really focus on providing that kind of safety for the families and to provide them that kind of support.
Well, again, good luck today, Margaret. Again, you have a lot of people here to support you. Are there any last things you want to tell? I guess the polls are closed, but any last minute things that you just, are you thankful for having been here in Mountain View and living here in Mountain View?
I think to say living in the city of Mountain View is not only a blessing, but it's just a privilege to be here and to have so many wonderful people and to meet so many great people that care so much about the city, and to also be a part of that. They want to be a part of the solutions, and that's what makes being on City Council very appealing. And I look forward to serving the citizens of Mountain View.
Margaret, thank you very much. Good luck to you. This is Claudia Cruz, editor of Mountain View Patch, here live at the election night party for Margaret Capril at Agave Restaurant on Castro. Now back to KMVT.
Hello everyone, I'm Tim Millar. I'm here with Mike Casper, the current mayor of Mountain View.
Yes.
And it is election night here in Mountain View. Mike, we really appreciate you coming in and sitting down with us.
Tim, it's great to be here.
Yeah, it's good to see you again. And give us your thoughts on the election, the local election here for Mountain View.
Well, the anxiety is over, at least for the time being. It's great. The first results are in, probably about 35% of the ballots, and I appear to be in the lead. So I'm feeling pretty good.
Yep. So you're running for...
running for re-election for the city council.
But not for mayor.
Not for mayor. We rotate the mayor in Mountain View.
Right.
But I'm running for my fourth term on the city council.
Yeah, so you had mentioned to me earlier you had done 8 years previously, took 4 years off, came back for another 4, and you're going for another 4 again.
Mountain View has term limits, but they're not lifetime. So 4 years ago, the voters of Mountain View said, bring him back. Yep. And they brought me back, and they reconfirmed that again so far tonight.
That's great. And Mike, tell us, what do you think is the most exciting things that are happening in Mountain View right now? What are you fired up about in the city?
What am I fired? Well, Mountain View is just on the map. Yep. I mean, it's we need to figure out how to get companies here. We need to figure out how to keep companies from coming in one sense. I'm sort of just kidding. But Mountain View is really on the map. You can go anywhere in the world. And they may not know Mountain View, but all you have to say, we're the home of Google. Right. Everybody knows who we are. But we've got a lot of issues. We've got a lot of issues because it's so popular here right now. The Mountain View that people know and love is changing. Yeah. That's hard.
In what way is it changing, Mike? Tell us what...
There's more people. It's denser. Downtown is fantastic, though. We've got a vibrant downtown that everybody loves. So that's a good thing. Traffic is worse. Transportation, getting around Mountain View is harder. That's probably, from my perspective, the biggest single issue we have to work on as we go forward into the future.
Really, is traffic as the city grows?
Traffic, it's immense. And coupled with greenhouse gases, people's time, just the quality of life, nobody wants to spend time in their cars. They want to get where they want to go. They don't want to spend time in their car an hour going a mile.
Yeah, nobody wants to. What about housing? Is there what are your thoughts about future needs for housing and demand for that? How is the City of Mountain View going to address that as well? A lot of people want to come to Mountain View.
Housing has been a long-term issue of mine, affordable housing specifically. Yep. We've got about 1,500 apartment units being built. They're luxury apartments. I've seen the insides of the new ones being built at San Antonio. They're going to be beautiful. Yeah. They're going to be about $5,000 a month for the penthouse apartments. But people love the diversity of Mountain View, and people that are on just regular incomes are finding it more and more difficult to live here. So addressing that issue is another really significant thing. We have a big vote on that actually next Tuesday night.
On what they're going to do with housing?
On the rental housing impact fee, what our rental housing developers need to do to help address the affordable housing problems that we have, that our businesses and our ownership housing developers already have to address.
Okay. And what about schools? Do you see any big issues with the school district here?
Well, we have some big changes going on in both the Mountain View and the Los Altos School District, both of which cover Mountain View. New leadership in both of those organizations. But depending on how Prop 30 turns out tonight, schools are very much in play from a state economic perspective.
What about the national election? Any thoughts on the national election?
Well, let's see. I've been up since 4 o'clock working on the Obama campaign, and I'm feeling pretty good right now. So it's funny, when I was growing up, I grew up in a Romney household. George Romney, Mitt's father, was really disappointed when George didn't run for president. Would have been my first Republican, would have been my first presidential election.
Right.
So, I've become an Obama guy, and I'm pretty pleased about what's happening in national politics tonight.
Because it seems like it appears that Obama has won.
Fox seems to have conceded for Governor Romney. So
it looks like Obama is back for another Another term here.
Yeah, so it's nice to be on riding his coattails.
Yeah. Well, Mike, I wanted to thank you very much. It's always a pleasure seeing you.
It's great to
And
see you. We'll
best of
see you
luck
at
with
we'll
this.
see you at the Art and Wine Festival next year.
We'll see you somewhere again.
Or-
Okay. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Yeah. Okay. And now we're going to turn it over to Claudia, who's going to be speaking with John Inc. So thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Claudia Cruz, editor of Mountain View Patch, here at live with KMVT at Vice Mayor John Inc.'s re-election party. Tell me, how do you feel tonight with the election results coming in? You're still, hanging in there. What's your mood right now?
Well, my mood right now is to enjoy my guests and supporters, to have a little fun after a pretty hard campaign. I think all the candidates worked real hard. I knew that the challengers had very, very active campaigns, and that there would be some challenges from how well I finished in 2008. And I think that I've fulfilled meeting the challenge. The initial votes, the initial results are very, very close. It's hard to say how it's actually going to turn out for the night, but I find that kind of exciting. But at the same time, I want to enjoy my friends, enjoy my personal time once this election is over. I look forward to being back on City Council next year and perhaps being mayor.
Excellent. And what kind of things how did you run your campaign maybe differently than 2008?
It was actually very similar to 2008. It was a lot of precinct walking and a lot of volunteer support, an appropriate amount of fundraising that was required to be competitive. This time around, I did actually think that it would be not necessarily that easy to be reelected, that I would have to work just as hard as I did in 2008. I did that. Could I have done a little bit more? Maybe, but I still think that there's a chance that I could do better than what the results show right now. In any case, I feel like I've given the campaign what was required, and the people that have accorded me, I think, the confidence to at least be part of the council for the next 4 years.
And like you said, the results are still pretty close, 2 out of 33 precincts reporting, so it could still go either way if re-elected, and possibly mayor next year. What kind of things as a mayor would you want to bring forth as projects to the city?
Well, probably one of the first things is to adjust to the fact that the chemistry of the council will necessarily change, because we're going to have at least 2 new members in that regard. The same thing is to continue a council that has, led the city through major changes in the top management. We replaced all 3 of our appointees, and we also balanced budgets for 4 years. And so I tend to continue that, to work with the city manager in making sure that our agendas are well organized and that we leave the right amount of time to do the city's business. And basically to continue what I've done so far, filling in as vice mayor.
Excellent. And you mentioned your supporters and enjoying your supporters tonight. How important were they as far as pushing you and giving you morale for these last couple of difficult weeks of campaigning?
Well, I think that they were probably more overconfident than I was. The last email that I sent on this one was that the most interesting part of this will be the order of finish, which is entirely unpredictable. And you may not necessarily have predicted that it would have been even this close, but that's what at least the initial returns are showing, and we'll just have to see how that carries out throughout the night.
Ideally, because who would you would like to serve again with? I presume Mayor Casper, but if you could choose the other 2 candidates, who else would you like to spend some time with on council that you've gotten to know during this campaign?
I think all 5 of the other candidates. I actually met Margaret Capril in August at the end of a night that I was precinct walking. Bob Capril has invited me into the house for dessert and wine, and I said, I could be serving with Margaret. And so the same thing for Jim Neal, the same thing for the other candidates who I've known for many, many years. And, the way that I have survived and done a good job on council is my ability to work with different people. And so I think it would be any of them, but the likely finishers here I'm sure that I can work with him.
Well, Vice Mayor Jennings, good luck today as the results keep coming in. This is Claudia Cruz signing off, editor of Mountain View Patch, and we're heading off back to the studio for more election night live coverage.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
right, welcome back to the KMVT studio. We are live here during election night. Again, you can hear all the noise and commotion. I think the biggest thing happening right now on the national front is that Romney is not going to concede just yet. So it is definitely not over. But locally, we're still waiting on the results to come in. It'll probably be not until 10 o'clock when we get the latest numbers. But for right now, we're going to interview people that we have here in the studio. So Brian Schmidt is on the Santa Clara County Water District Board.
Santa Clara Valley Water District.
Thank you. So thank you for being here. What brings you out tonight?
Well, I came here originally as a Mountain View resident to support one of my city council members and candidates, Mike Casper's ad.
Yeah, you can say his name. It's okay.
Yes. Yeah. So I've worked with him through the Water District, and I was excited to see him run for office, and wanted to come out and support as he gets reelected.
Great. And then I saw in your hand you had the Yes on B. We want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. That's the thing that I've been working on, and the Water District has been working on for the last year, is a reauthorization of an existing parcel tax that does a variety of really crucial things that the Water District does in terms of flood control, water supply, and environmental protection.
Okay. So yes, somebody just extends that for...
That's right.
Okay.
It would have expired in 2016, and it extends it for 15 years.
Oh, okay, that's good. So hopefully yes on B.
That's what we want.
So talk about the Water District a little bit. I mean, you usually don't hear about people running for that until it's time to vote for it. What does that entail for you?
Well, the Water District is such a key part of our lives. There's a famous saying that whiskey is for drinking and water is for fighting.
Yeah.
Supposedly Mark Twain said that. California is an arid area.
Yeah.
San Jose's average precipitation is 13 inches.
Yeah.
That 10 inches of rain or less is a desert.
Okay.
So that gives you an idea of how little rain we get here. So having that water supply, and then we still get floods. We had floods in '98.
Yeah.
And we also have the devastation that we saw on the East Coast with Hurricane Sandy.
Right.
We are protected from the bay by old 100-year-old mud levees. And those things need to be rebuilt. And only being rebuilt to Corps of Engineers standards is something that can protect us and help us bring back the tidal wetlands that we used to have.
And unfortunately, we don't tend to pay attention to those types of things until it's almost too late.
That's right. You need to think about them in advance. And I'm an environmental lawyer. I've worked for environmental organizations for years.
Yeah.
So I've been involved with the Water District, and I saw the opportunity to jump in when I ran for office for the first time 2 years ago. And I've really enjoyed it ever since then.
So is this a 4-year term?
Yes.
For this role, so you get to run again in 2 years, maybe?
Yes, it's a 4-year term. I when I ran for office, I pledged I'd only run for a maximum of 2 terms.
Okay.
So in a year or two, I'll have to decide whether or not I'm going to run for re-election.
So once this election is over, and hopefully people did vote yes on B, what's kind of your next project that you feel like that you either singularly or as a board will kind of focus on?
Well, I think the biggest thing would be implementing the yes on B. And if it doesn't pass, then we'll have to look at what existing resources we have to do flood control and environmental restoration, and making sure we have enough water. I think water conservation is a huge thing. It's important both for our water supplies, and it's better for the environment if we can conserve water. There's many different ways that we can do that.
So this is kind of your free platform here. So if there's anything else you want people to know about the Water District, this is your time to do it.
Okay, it's a great place to get involved. If you go to valleywater.org, that's the website. We have many advisory committees, and if anybody wants to reach me through that website, they can, and I'd be happy to get people involved and save water, shorter showers, don't run the sink while you're brushing your teeth.
Where's the
doing
fun
everything
in
you
that?
can. What's that?
I said, where's the fun in that?
Oh, conserving is good. Conserving is great.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for letting me pull you out of the party for a little bit. So now we're going to go into a video from another party.
State with KMVT 15. I'm here with John Baer, who's a candidate for Los Altos City Council. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you feeling tonight? You have just looked at some preliminary results. How do you feel about the results so far?
Well, the results so far are early, and we'll wait to see until additional results come in.
Well, it's been a very hardly fought race, and I was looking at the votes. It's just maybe 50 to 100 difference between number 2 and number 3 and number 4. So it's to the last minute a very, very hard fought race. I'm sure that your mind is racing right now and you can't wait to actually see what the final results. Do you think they're going to come tonight, or do you think you're going to wait for maybe a few days?
We'll wait until the results are conclusive, and that may be tonight, it may be 2 or 3 days from now.
Now, if you were to be elected, what would be the first things that you would like to implement within the city of Los Altos?
Well, the first thing I want to do is sit down with my fellow council members at the first full session of council, and one of the important things that happens in December in January, is a meeting of all the council members to develop a plan for 2013. And I would be looking forward to talking with my fellow council members about council goals and objectives.
That sounds good. Now, the race this year has been very politicized. How do you feel about the transformation of this race?
Well, I'm disappointed that politics got in the way of trying to do good things for Los Altos, and hopefully the voters will make good decisions.
And why are you disappointed?
Well, after knocking on over 6,000 households, it's clear to me that the voters in Los Altos are concerned about things that are real to them, not necessarily the things that the pundits have decided are important to Los Altos.
And do you think you can change that if you were to be elected?
I think we're in an age where the internet and lots of different sources of news just make it easy for lots of information, good, bad, or otherwise, to get out there. So, no, I don't think I can change any of that.
You mentioned you've knocked on over 6,000 households. 600 or 6,000?
6,000 households, and some of the people who've been working with me have knocked on about 1,000. So we've reached over 7,000 out of 9,500 households in Los Altos.
Was that over a span of 5 months or less?
That was from September through 2 days ago.
Wow. So that's quite a lot. How much time do you spend on average on each house?
It depends. There are some people who aren't home, who just leave information. There are people who just take the information, and there are people who want to spend 15 or 20 minutes talking and asking questions, and delighted to spend the time with the people who have those questions and interest.
What are the questions that were presented to you the most?
They want to know what's going on in downtown. They want to know what's happening with the school site number 10. Those are the two key issues that people are most concerned about.
Now, you were on the Planning Commission, and still are, for downtown. You will continue to be on the Planning Commission if you are not to be elected on the City Council?
That's correct.
And what are some of the future projects that are in the works for downtown?
Well, we changed the zoning to allow increased heights on the perimeter of downtown, and we're seeing the effect. We've got a number of new projects that have been approved and are being constructed, and I'm really looking forward to seeing new retail stores, new restaurants, and a lot more nightlife in Los Altos over the coming years.
I think that will be fantastic. Now, I've also heard that in the works there is a plan to have a boutique hotel. Is that right?
Well, there's at least one boutique hotel. There's a hotel at the corner of Edith and San Antonio, and then there's going to be another project. I don't know exactly what it's going to be at the old Design and Interiors site on 170 State Street, and I think that the people who bought the property are still trying to sort out whether they make it a hotel, a mixed-use project, retail, office, but it should be very exciting.
It is very exciting. I really enjoy the new look of the downtown. It's a pleasure to be in downtown. It was a pleasure before, but it's even prettier now. So thank you so much for your time tonight, and I hope that the results will be very favorable to you. Well, thank you for watching. This is Christiana State, KMVT 15.
Okay, and we're back live in the KMVT studio for our election night coverage, and I found my buddy Jim. Hi, Jim.
Hi.
Well, let me be more formal. This is Sunnyvale City Council member Jim Griffin, and what are you doing here? What are you doing here?
Well, we do have odd-year elections, so we don't actually have an election going on in the city now, but we like to keep an eye on our neighbors because if we need to invade Mountain View, we need to keep an eye on what's going on. So
Okay. Well,
actually,
we got Moffett Field right there.
that's
so,
true. There's always something to fight over. No, I'm a supporter of Mike Casper's act, so I wanted to come out and show my support for him and keep an eye on all the different election results that are rolling in.
Okay. Well, we're glad that you're here. And some people don't know this, but KMVT also services your government channel.
That's correct.
In Sunnyvale. So it's always nice to have you guys up here and us visit you. So thanks for being here.
Oh, you bet. You're doing a wonderful event here.
No, this is so much fun. So I'm having a great time.
Me too.
So let's talk about the election, right? The national election.
Okay.
Are you surprised that they called it so early, or?
It is a little surprising it was so quick. I'm a big follower of Nate Silver's 538, and he's called this one perfectly this time. It's just he expected it to be close in Vermont and North Carolina and Florida, and it certainly was. So, but they are certainly calling it faster than it was. It's because the Ohio margin was so large.
Yeah, and I'm still kind of holding out on that Ohio call. I'm still seeing 49-49. I'm like, But, I mean, I was talking to friends, and I said I didn't think they would call it so early either. And I was really thinking about New York and New Jersey.
Right.
Just kind of with the issues there that they would, legitimately need more time if they called it. So.
And I was surprised with that one, too. I assumed the margins were so large that despite the problems, there's just no way that the difference in counting would make a difference at this point. So.
Yeah. So let's switch to local for a second.
Okay.
So we know that the next set of numbers won't be refreshed till probably about 10 o'clock, so we got a little time for that. Are there any propositions or measures that are up right now that, that you were kind of going after or promoting?
There were a couple that I'm keeping an eye on. Measure F in San Francisco is a very big deal. It would drain Hetch Hetchy, which provides water to most of the cities in the area, and Sunnyvale gets half of its water from that. So that one failing is considered to be a good thing for Sunnyvale, and it is failing very large. I'm keeping an eye on 30. I obviously want that one to pass, 32 to fail. Some of the other ones I was kind of had sort of a vested interest in 40 because I'm a big fan of redistricting happening. And I'm also surprised so far Measure M is winning. That's a little disappointing because whatever you think of compensation of CEOs, that's really a best practices thing, and taking away the ability for a board to have best practices, I don't like that one at all.
No.
But it's early, so it could still turn around.
Yeah, so I'm holding out hope.
Right, and of course
that 10 o'clock refresh will show some things that I would personally like to see.
And of course, Mike is winning, so that's always a good thing.
Yeah. So you taught me something a few minutes ago. We were talking about the respective ways that the city councils function as far as their terms and especially how they serve as mayor.
Right.
So I know that in Mountain View, we don't have an elected mayor per se. It's a rotation on the council, but it's elected by their fellow council members for 1 year. So in a minute or less, you said that in Sunnyvale it's a little different.
That's right. Most of the cities do it one of two ways. They either directly elect their mayor for a 2-year or 4-year term, or they do a rotating mayor for a 1-year term, and it just goes by seniority.
Yes.
Sunnyvale has a 2-year council-appointed mayor, which means we do get to pick our own mayor, but because it's 2 years, not everybody gets a chance.
Right.
So it becomes a competitive thing. And it creates a situation where the council has a vested interest in picking the best mayor out of the bunch as possible.
Yeah.
It's possible that one person could get it for the entire 8 years of their 2 terms.
Wow.
It's possible we could end up being effectively a rotation.
Yeah.
Right now it's Mayor Tony Spitaleri.
Yes.
He's doing his second 2-year stint as mayor. And then next up, we'll see what happens after the election.
All right, I'm gonna follow up with you guys next year.
You bet.
So with that, I think we're going back to another video. So stay with us.
You have the highest votes of everyone. Congratulations.
Well, we only have 18 precincts left to count, so let's not.
5 precincts reported.
So these are preliminary results, it looks like it, but you're up ahead by 26% of the votes. So how does it feel after all this hard work for months and months and months, probably more than months, like a year or so of preparation?
It's June, July, August, and it's been five months. We've been working really, really hard. So
But before that, I'm sure it was lots of planning even before.
Yeah, it's just a real relief. I have all my helpful volunteers here. It's just really great.
So let's say that by the end of the night, all the votes are going to come in. You're still going to be on top.
I hope so.
What are going to be the first things that you're going to put to place and implement in the city of Los Altos?
First things I'm going to implement? Well, first I'm going to thank everyone for supporting me. But that's just my supporters here. But as far as once I'm on the council, you're saying, I'd like to get started in reaching out to all the neighborhood networks that I talked about in my campaign, and start setting up meetings with all the neighborhoods and the city council and the city staff. So to follow through on what I said I would do.
And what are the sort of top 2 things that you really want to implement right away?
Well, the neighborhood networks like to make the city more green and help the school district solve the BCS issue. So help the school district on that.
How are you going to help the city become more green?
Get people together, talk about how we can be a leader in the green areas, and I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I quite understand that. It's such an exciting night, and I'm sure that it's so far it's paying off. Yeah.
This is unbelievable.
So what
I hope it just stays here as additional precincts come in. I hope we continue to stay on top.
Now, what about the general election? So what do you think, who do you think is going to win? We still don't know.
I have not been watching that at all. So I don't know. I suppose that's at the top here. This. Danny, where's Danny? Or Jen, can you scroll up to the top? See what's going on. What's going on in the general?
I'm sure you have a favorite, though. Who do you like? Who would you like to win?
In the general election, I don't talk partisan politics.
Oh, you don't. Understandable.
Oh, this is just for Santa Clara County.
So for Santa Clara County, we're looking in. Yes, it looks like it's 68% for Barack Obama, which is expected, isn't it?
Yeah, I would expect that. I think this county usually goes Democratic.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I feel the excitement in this house. Great party tonight, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you. Christiana State for KMVT.
I'm at KMVT in Mountain View, and I'm here with Samantha Mendoza. Samantha, thank you so much for joining us this evening here at the election. We're filming the local elections as well as reporting the national elections. And Samantha, you spent some day. Tell us about your day today. What you were doing today?
Well, today I knew I'd be covering the election, but I wasn't really sure what I'd be doing. And so my editor, Claudia, over at Mountain View Patch, she said, okay, well, Samantha, we're going to have you go to the Obama campaign party. I was like, oh, no, I'm not prepared for this. I'd never done anything with politics before, reporting.
Right. This is your first time, right? So just so everybody knows, this is Samantha's first time.
Right. I was really nervous. And so I get there, and there's tons of people there. Like, it's hard to walk. Like, it's like Disneyland almost, in a really small, crammed room.
Okay.
But there was so much energy there. I was really surprised. Like, it was just, everybody was so emotional.
Yeah. Tell us about any of the special moments you saw.
One thing was, I think I saw the youngest supporter, one of the youngest supporters of Obama. She was 15, and she was doing data for Obama's campaign, putting in all the callers, who they needed to call. And she was just so informed. I was really surprised. You know, when I think of 15-year-olds, I think of my sister, and she doesn't know that much about politics. And I see this 15-year-old, and she, you know, she's going off and off about everything, and I was just really impressed.
Okay, and what about you? You mentioned before we were on the air that this is your first time voting, right? And first time in a presidential election.
Yes.
Tell me why you voted and what your thoughts are about the election.
Well, last time, 4 years ago, I was 17, so I couldn't vote. So this year, when it came around, I was really excited because it felt like something bigger than me, and everybody was talking about it. You know, my parents were like, oh, we're going to vote. Oh, when you're an adult, you vote. And then finally, it was my turn, so I did the mail-in ballot, and it was really cool. I really felt like I was part of America. Like, that sounds a little corny, but I really felt like my vote counted.
And so involved with your coverage, because you were actually as a news person today during the day and voting, what are your thoughts as a young person in your career? Where do you see yourself going with this, having done this now?
I think just seeing this exposure, I'd really want to go more into politics.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, not as a politician, but as a reporter for politics, because I feel like it's really important information, and I feel like Americans take it for granted, and if I can, report it really well, I feel like people like that 15-year-old girl, Katie, will know more about it.
Yeah.
So I want to keep going with it.
You had shared with me earlier, too, you had, I think, believed in something with Measure M, is that correct? Did you do something with that?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us what you were doing with that and what your experience was like doing that.
Well, Measure M is on the ballot in Mountain View, and basically if it passes, it'll put a salary cap on the El Camino Hospital executives to twice the governor's salary, which would be about $330,000. And if it's defeated, then there's no cap. So it's pretty exciting. Yeah.
So you've done some writing, and now you're doing something on TV, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm really going for it all.
Yeah, so you're jumping into. You had mentioned to me you came up from San Diego, and you recently came up this summer from San Diego to, you're at San Jose State?
Yes.
And just tell me what you think about San Jose State.
San Jose State, I love it. I never want to leave there. I feel like living there. It's just such a great environment. You feel like, because before I was at a commuter school, Cal State San Marcos, and I just really didn't feel like I belonged. But here at San Jose State, I feel like the college is me, and I'm the college, and I look forward to just finishing school there. I never want to leave, but unfortunately, I got to graduate sometime.
Graduate, but I think you'll do well whatever you want to end up doing.
I think
at that point. So
I think so.
Yeah, that would be great. So that's wonderful news. So tell us back, what do you think about all the people here tonight? What's it like at KMVT? I think we should invite people. Wouldn't you think it'd be great if we invited everybody to come down here and participate? There's a party. There's a lot of candidates coming down here. What do you think about the mix of all the candidates here?
I think I know as journalists, it's supposed to be objective, and I feel like here there's definitely, it's balanced. I don't see any bias. I feel like there's good coverage everywhere, and we're giving people the information they need. And it's just great to see all these people, contributing their energy to it. It's impressive.
Yeah, and as we're sitting here, what they're saying is it seems like it looks like the major stations are reporting Obama won. Do you have any thoughts as a young person, what your thoughts are about that?
My personal thoughts about what I think?
Yeah.
I'm really excited. I know a lot of people have said, what has he done in 3 years? That he hasn't done a lot, but I feel like 3 years really isn't enough time. And I feel like as we see him develop over these next 4 years, we can really get a better idea of, what he hopes to do and what his plans are. But I'm excited.
So you're optimistic and excited about having Obama here for another
4 more years.
Yeah. Okay. And then okay, so what we're going to do, we're out of time here. We're going to have to wrap things up. But what I want to do is thank you so much for the time you spent with us. You're a fascinating young woman. Wish you the best in everything you're doing.
Thank you.
And thanks for all your help.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we're going to go to downtown Los Altos. We're going to turn over there. I think there's some candidates celebrating over there. So let's go to Los Altos and see what's happening there. Okay.
Hi, I'm L.A. Chung, and I'm interviewing candidates for City Council tonight during the election. It is Tuesday, November 6th, and it's close to 8:30 now. I have with me Jeanie Bruins, who's one of the candidates for City Council. And Jeanie, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thanks, LA.
So I think you're doing fine because the first results came out. I guess these are the absentee or mail-in ballots that show that you're in the top 3 with something like 5 out of 20 something precincts reporting.
Yeah, 5 out of 23, and I'm in 3rd right now.
So I got here a little late. Was there a little roar when the first results came out?
Absolutely. There was a big roar as we were looking at the Los Altos City Council as well as looking at the Los Altos School District Board.
Tell me a little bit about who's here. We're over at Cafe Vitale, and Cafe Vitale is over in Loyola Corners. Tell me who's here.
Well, tonight what we did is 5 of us candidates decided to come together. And because we believe in working collaboratively, so we thought we would start with election night. So we have Jerry Sorenson, who's also running for City Council, Pablo Luther, and Steve Talio, who are both running for the Los Altos School District Board. And joining us a little bit later will be Bill James, who's running for El Camino Hospital Board.
Sounds like you have quite a party going on there. Why, a lot of times I've done election night parties, and they're all downtown. And was there something about being over here in Loyola Corners that was a conscious decision?
I think it was a bit conscious on my part. I am actually a South Los Altos resident. And part of my campaigning, I came out here to Loyola Corners. And Loyola Corners has a few challenges. And Cafe Vitale looked like the perfect place to have an election night and kind of break the mold, because I think historically it's always been done in downtown, and thought, you know what, we're going to share the wealth a little bit and hopefully introduce a few people to this fine restaurant.
Well, I've been here myself, so it is quite fine. Jeanie, how did you spend today? What was today like? I don't know whether it was a quiet day for you or a busy day. Maybe Sunday was busier. Tell me a little bit more.
Today was really about rest and relaxation. I took it easy. I did my normal morning routine, went out and did my walking, which was a lot of fun to see a lot of the neighbors with their big thumbs up, or I just came back from the polls. So that was a lot of fun. And then the rest of the day was actually just kind of relaxing.
How are you going to spend the rest of the night? I mean, we only have 5 precincts. It's not like everybody has a commanding lead, or it's going to be a long night. So how are you looking at tonight?
Well, I think we're going to just kind of hang out here for a couple of hours and see what happens, and hopefully with the next set of results, we will see some of the gaps widening, and that would be nice. But I think we're here at least until 10 p.m., and we'll go as long as it takes.
I have heard that some people, this is kind of a movable feast, or maybe a movable party, that some people are going to end up over at First and Main. Tell me a little bit about that too.
I know that there's another large crowd over at First and Main, but right now it was not my intention to head over there. I was waiting to see a little bit more of the results coming in, and then I definitely will be calling all the other candidates to congratulate them in terms of a wonderful campaign. I think we ran just an excellent campaign, all 6 of us, and I think we all deserve a lot of kudos, and I'm looking forward to making those phone calls.
Well, that'll be great. I have one thought, because I think people learn a lot during campaigns. Tell me what you learned about Los Altos in the process of campaigning.
I think it renewed my faith that Los Altos is just a fabulous small community. I think we have a lot of residents in Los Altos who really would like to get more involved, and with their busy schedules and such have not allowed themselves to get involved, and so they're looking forward to some new methods in which we can reach out to them and involve them in what our community is doing. The best part of campaigning has been going door to door and meeting these residents and talking to them. It's wonderful.
Well, then I would think that whoever wins, perhaps that might be a good thought going forward then.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and we are back here live at the KMVT studio for our election night coverage, and I am here with a woman of many titles, Nancy No. She's a former city council member in Mountain View. During that time, she was also vice mayor during your term. You're also the former board member here at KMVT, of which you served like 10 years.
Right.
Before she finally said, I'm out of here. And now you're here with us tonight. How are you?
I'm doing fine, and I am really delighted to see that KMVT is doing this. It's so nice to bring everyone together and to bring the different candidates in the community together in one place to watch the results. And
I think it's a fun social experiment.
It is. A lot of excitement and energy.
Yeah.
So it's great.
So what have you been up to?
Working. working at the job that actually pays the bills.
Oh, that's a good thing, yeah.
But I do miss KMVT.
We're going to bring you back, don't worry. So you came down here tonight to hang out with us. Are there any, what do you think about the election, the national election so far?
It's very exciting, and I think one of the things that it's really made me appreciate watching the coverage and reading Facebook posts from friends on the East Coast who have stood in line today, this morning and this evening, in the dark, in the freezing cold to cast their ballots, and we're pretty spoiled. And to know that it's so important, and people recognize how close this presidential race was going to be, and it really mattered, and people showed up in adverse circumstances. They came out to make their voices heard, and I think that's really exciting.
I know, and so again, we're at the point where Governor Romney has not conceded yet, so we're still waiting to see if that's going to happen in the near future. If it does, we'll try to show it here. If not, everyone will have it on the internet. What about local election-wise? Have there been any candidates you've been following or helping out, or are there any propositions or measures you've been watching closely?
I've worked with Mike Casper, Zach, for many years. We were on a Chamber of Commerce board together and City Council together, and so he's someone whose experience and judgment I have tremendous respect for, and so wanted to turn out and support him definitely. The last time I looked, it looks like Prop 30 is passing, and I think that's something that is really important for not just for our schools. I'm not sure that people fully appreciate how much was riding on that proposition.
Exactly.
And so glad to see that that's passing.
I know. I admit that I doubled down on 30 and 38 just for the fear of, one, I know I wanted money to go to the schools, but I really wanted 30 to pass, because if it didn't, then the trigger cuts that happen from that. And I think people don't, like you said, I think people didn't get to the other side of what Prop 30 is about. So if it doesn't pass, there's still a consequence that comes with that. So let's hope that happens.
Yes, cuts beyond the schools for the developmentally disabled, for public safety. So that's one that, keeping fingers crossed and hoping that's going to pass very solidly.
Well, I'm so happy that you're here. I'm glad that this is happening. I guess I have to give Mike Casper that credit, because this was kind of his idea.
Okay.
To try to do like a joint party where the candidates will come out and, kind of do this thing together. And, in some communities, you couldn't pull that off. They were just like, no, we're not going to do that. We want our own thing. But it was really nice to see the Mountain View community come together, and those in Los Altos. And we had Jim Griffin from Sunnyvale here.
Yes.
To really come and say, hey, we want to be a part of this and make it happen.
Yeah,
so
I just saw one of the hospital district candidates come through, so there's people here from a number of different offices.
Okay, so we are going to leave here and go to a video, hopefully. I know I'm early, but I don't care. And we will be right back live.
Great.
Hi, I'm L.A. Chung, Los Altos Patch Editor, and I'm working with KMVT, our partner in crime, on election night. We are going around to the various parties and talking with the candidates. I have with me here Jerry Sorenson, who is a candidate for City Council. He is joining up with other candidates here at Cafe Vitale in Loyola Corners. Jerry, tell me how it's been here. Who do you have here at Cafe Vitale, and why did you have it here?
Well, we wanted to do Cafe Vitale because everyone seems to do events downtown, and what we noticed is that everybody was worried about Loyola Corners. So we thought, let's do something at Loyola Corners. And it was Jeanie Bruins and I decided we would do our event together here. And then we added Pablo Luther and Steve Talio as well. And we just kind of invited friends and people that have been working on the campaign with us and people that had supported us throughout the campaign. And a lot of them showed up. It's been great.
Apparently so. Now, tonight's the night that everyone's really letting their hair down, right? Because they don't have to do anything. Whatever could be done has been done.
That's right.
How did you spend today compared to how you spent the previous days?
Well, today I was working on the high school Christmas tree lot, to be honest with you. I was preparing for the high school Christmas tree lot, ordering some Christmas trees, organizing the transportation, and doing some of that. So that's how I spent my day today, was doing that, and then I came down here with Debbie Hope and Jeanie to prepare the festive atmosphere, if you will, here at Cafe Vitale.
Well, it's very loud and it is very festive.
Yes, it is.
So, in other words, you didn't do any campaigning today. You did your volunteer work.
Yes, I did some volunteer work today, and I didn't do much yesterday, Sunday either. basically I kind of shut everything down on Saturday, and I had a football tournament that my friend Vince Giacomini and I run. So that was a good campaign event. If you think about it, we have 1,000 Los Altos residents, so I did that. On Sunday, my wife and I and Vince kind of shut down the whole league, which is something we had to do. And then Monday and today we worked on the tree lot.
So right now, the early returns, and they are early, these are just mail-in ballots that they've managed to queue up so far.
Okay.
It's only 5 precincts reporting, as I understand. You have like 20 some odd to go. So you're just kind of out of the top 3. I don't know whether you knew that.
No, I didn't know
surprise,
that.
Surprise, right.
Okay.
But like I said, it's early in the evening. Tell me a little bit right now in this little snapshot of time how you're feeling about the election.
I think that I'm feeling great because we got to the end. We got to the finish line. We're crossing the finish line, so I feel real good about that. I think that we brought up some important issues, and that's what I really wanted to do. Is I felt that there were, having gone through the project that I went through, and having looked at how the current council was approaching the school district, I felt that I could bring important issues to the table. I think I did bring those important issues to the table. I noticed that virtually every candidate kind of came around to some of my positions on whether it was pension or pension reform. They all suddenly decided that that was an issue. Downtown visioning, they all decided that that was an issue. And the fact that we really need to work with our school district to solve that problem, and that became an issue for everybody. So I felt really good about that because the issues that were my issues suddenly people migrated to, which I think is good.
Now, in the process of any campaign, I think the candidate himself or herself actually learns quite a bit about the city, some new things. Did you learn anything new while you were campaigning?
No, I think I learned something about the campaign, but I actually feel like there were things that I knew that the rest of the community didn't know, and I think those have been exposed. And I think that was one of the things I was hoping to achieve, is that I wanted to make sure that the whole community was aware of the council and how the council has been operating. And I also wanted to try and get the community to be more engaged in this process, and I think I've done that. And I've had a number of people come and tell me that they, having gotten involved with me or with my campaign or on this campaign, they look forward going into the future and actually participating, doing more than just voting and then putting it aside for 2 years. They're now going to be activated. They're going to start attending council meetings. They're going to hold whoever gets elected, they're going to hold them responsible to fulfill the commitments that candidates made. So I think that's all good.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time, and it looks like, you should party on.
Thank you, Ellie.
All right.
Hello everyone, I'm Tim Millar. I'm at KMVT here in Mountain View, California. I'm here with Juan Aranda and Bill Lambert. Juan is a previous member of the Mountain View school district, and we have Bill Lambert who's running for it. And Juan, you've been here for a while in Mountain View. Why don't you share your thoughts about today's election and what's going on?
Well, I think we have very good candidates. I've been involved with every one of them. I'm what you call a self-made pundit, where I actually tend to predict whatever's going on, not only at the local level, but at the state level and federal level. I'm very involved, and I predict most of what's going to happen tonight already.
Yeah, okay. And then, Bill, this is your first election with you running for the school board. How do you feel about everything that's going on, and how do you feel today? Are you excited, and what are your thoughts about going through this whole process?
Well, it's a long ordeal. I'll be glad when it's over. I guess we got the first results about an hour ago, and we're waiting for about 15 minutes and getting the update. So I think it's a little surprising so far. I think everybody has had very different styles of campaigning, different strengths and weaknesses, and it's interesting to see what the voters are are doing.
And we've had a lot of your fellow candidates here tonight, this evening. So you're all, I think most of you guys are here, I believe.
Everybody in the school board was here. A couple of them have left so far, but maybe they'll come back.
Yeah, well, if you want to come back and join us, it's definitely a fun atmosphere here with us this evening. And then, Juan, what about you and your experience? What was it like when you got elected? I mean, how did you feel going up to the election, and when you finally got elected, what was that like for you?
Gosh, I was back in 1996, something I did not expect. I just got here to Mountain View, and I got interested to the PTA and School Site Council. I made a couple of presentations to the board. They asked me to join. They needed some diversity. I had the education, I had the will and the time, so I joined. It's been a sacrifice mostly for the family than for me. My wife was very supporting, and it is an ordeal. I mean, there are times when you have meetings that last only a couple of hours, but there are times when meetings stretch forever. And my complaint with Wisconsin School District was that we never had anybody attending the meetings. When we merged the year 2000 with the Mountain View School District, things changed. There was such a snap when the two districts actually became one, that we had a handful of people, 200 to 300 people at every meeting, and do I really regret making that statement?
And so there's been a lot of, I've been around here for like 32 years. I've seen a lot of changes in the Mountain View area. Bill, how long have you been here, in Mountain View, and what's the biggest changes you've seen?
Well, I've been here about 10 years, and as everybody knows who's lived in this area, it seems like there's one change after another around here. The community is growing, it's larger. I mean, we have traffic. It's construction. So I see a lot of changes all the time.
And as a member of the school board, what's the biggest change you see that would be affecting the city?
I think the school is really school district itself is making a real progress, really making an effort to educate the diverse population of students within Mountain View, and address all the needs of everybody. We're also doing a really good job right now of bringing in new technologies and new teaching methods into the school district. Which is pretty exciting, I think. It's an exciting time for education.
There's been a lot of changes here. Juan, I've got a question for you. What's your advice to Bill if he gets elected? What's your advice to him? You've been in his, where he wants to go. What's your thoughts to him? What would you share with him?
That's a very tough question. First of all, make sure that you have your wife's support, because she's going to be doing everything while you're gone. When I was on the board, my wife spent many nights alone until we tend to solve the issues that we had to solve. And you have to have a very steady marriage. You have to have a full support. You have to be aware of what's going on in the community. Being Latino, I actually got involved with the Latino community. I became one of its leaders. I'm glad that I'm here. I thought it's a very quaint town. I was raised in New York, so this is a complete different culture for me.
Right. So, any response to that?
Well, the first part is pretty easy because I'm single.
That's what I was going to say.
Don't worry about that.
So I knew that about you, Bill, and that's what I was giving you the opportunity. He's single, so he's not married. So
you should go to my salsa classes then.
Okay, do you get that? So. Yeah, so if you want to meet somebody, come to his salsa classes.
I've been to one of them, but only as an observer.
Okay, do you want to show us some moves? So, no, that's that. I wanted to have you to come back because I knew you weren't married, and so when you were talking about that, well, that's live TV too, right?
There
We're having some fun here in Mountain View, and that's just another reason to come down here to see how the elections are going. If you twist Juan's arm, I bet you he'll give you a little salsa class, and then you can also talk to Bill about the elections and what he thinks about them. So what we want to do, guys, gentlemen, we're out of time. So thank you, everybody, for watching the show this evening and coming here and participating. Bill, best of luck to you with the process here. And Juan,
thank you, sir.
Muchísimas gracias. Okay? Okay, thank you very much.
Hi, I'm L.A. Chung. I'm the local editor of Los Altos Patch, and I'm working with KMVT tonight on election night to talk to some of the candidates who have been running for Los Altos City Council and Los Altos School District. I have tonight with me Pablo Luther, who is running for the Los Altos School District. Pablo, I believe, is in the top 2 so far with 5 precincts reporting so far. It's early in the evening. How many?
14 precincts for the school district. Yeah.
And have you noticed whether you're in the top or whether you're in the first?
I think last I looked, I was at 33%.
Well, that's pretty darn good.
All right. Yes.
Pablo, So you have been running pretty hard during this election season. How did you spend today compared to maybe how you spent other days?
Actually, I did nothing at all today. I went to work for a couple hours, then I came back. I picked up my daughter from her school, and we went to Starbucks and spent a couple hours there, just my daughter and I. And then I came back home, and my wife was at home, and we just hung around. And actually, we didn't talk about the campaign. We didn't talk about, the elections, our local elections, and that's all we did. We just chilled out. It's one of those things. It's like I was talking to my sons. Both my sons are at Cal, and so we called them today, and I was talking to them, and I told them, I said, they asked me the same question, how does it feel? I said, it feels exactly like how you feel when you study for a test or an exam for about a month, and then on the final day, it is what it is. So you just let it go and go with the flow, and that was it.
Now, a lot of candidates, when they're campaigning, they're seen in a variety of forums, and they go door to door in a lot of cases. Tell me what you've learned. Did you learn anything new about Los Altos?
Yes, so, this was my first foray into the public domain, I guess. And it was I didn't know what to expect. I had no idea what to do. I figured I'd fill out my paperwork, I'd put in a ballot statement, and that would be it. I didn't realize what was involved in getting to this step. I have met a lot of people in the community. I have met people from all walks of life, people I never even knew anything about, and they didn't know me at all, discussed issues with them. I have gone to candidate forums and debates, and a lot of coffee meetings, and I've seen more of Los Altos and the residents than I have in my last 17 years. And there's a couple things that kind of stood out. One was that the people in Los Altos are very passionate about their city, about issues that are close and near and dear their heart, and about being involved. And that's something that I had not seen before in spades like this. And the other thing I realized was that, we're all the same. We all have slightly different issues, but at the end of the day, we all want the best for our kids, B, for our spouses, kids, family, and then our neighbors and our friends in the community. And that's, we are our population in Los Altos is cohesive, it's genteel. Yes, there are issues that are splitting the community apart right now, but we're dealing with them in a very even keel manner, I think. Apart from a few different issues that people are getting really riled up about, for the most part, I think people are behaving well.
Now, you attended the meeting last night for a period of time, and how was that?
There were 250 people there. I stood at the back of the room because I'm not an elected official as of yet. And I observed, the flow of the meeting. And again, what came across was people were very passionate about their school, about not losing their school. But what actually impressed me more than that was the fact that there was no mudslinging, there was no harsh words, there were no, the emotions did not translate to crass monologues or accusations, etc. It was done in a very proper form, and that's, I think, one of the hallmarks of our residents in our city.
That's a really great thing to hear about Los Altos. I really want to thank you for spending time for us, and I think it's a wrap tonight.
Hi, welcome back to KMVT's live streaming here of Election Night 2012. I'm Claudia Cruz, editor Monteview Patch, here with John Zeden, current member of the board of El Camino Hospital and candidate for re-election. Mr. Zeden, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
As we're sitting here, and I apologize to our viewers, but I'm going to be checking election results. But as of 3 minutes ago, Mr. Zogden was safely positioned to be reelected to the hospital board. And that would have been, but that's only with 70% of the precincts reporting. That would have put him along with Julia Miller and Dennis Chu, two challengers to this, two new members possibly to the board at El Camino Hospital. Talk to me about what your feelings are tonight, having to run. I mean, there hadn't been a contested race at El Camino Hospital for 10 years.
Well, it's wonderful that we had the option for the electorate to have a choice. It's been unfortunate that we haven't had an election for a decade. But no, it's been wonderful. We had a number of good conversations, and it's incredible that the quality of candidates that we have here, I think, has been wonderful. And whoever gets elected, I think, is going to serve the hospital well.
Great. Well, they still haven't updated,
Oh, darn.
updated the
Okay.
numbers. Tell me, for people who don't understand what a director on the board of El Camino Hospital does, what kind of things do you worry about and think about as far as, I know it's a 443-bed hospital with a lot of state-of-the-art technology. What's your job?
Well, yeah, just the background, the district hospital is one of 75 district hospitals established after World War II, back when this area was really a rural area. And our charge is for our district, which is Los Altos, Los Altos Hills, Mountain View, and Sunnyvale, is to provide for the health care of the community, providing services in the district and outside of the district. So as a board, we just try to provide oversight to the executive team. We have a tremendous executive team and tremendous employees, incredible nurses union that's won magnet status twice in Northern California. But our goal is to make sure we both spend our tax money well. We earn about $9 million of tax money each year. How do we put that back into the community? And how do we provide oversight to ensure the hospital can survive? Many district hospitals have had to sell out. They have not been able to survive. And when they then are bought by chains, they often cannot serve the district residents in as focused a manner as we can at El Camino.
And again, there hadn't been a contested race in 10 years. What made this year different?
Well, I think it's pretty clear. The union went after the district board. They created Measure M, which people like the San Jose Mercury News have said was really inappropriate behavior. We had a negotiation. SEIU union did not get everything they wanted, but we pay people at the market. And we pay people fairly, and this is why El Camino Hospital District is one public entity that's in strong financial shape. We don't have some of the other financial issues that some other cities have. I asked the team to take a look, and when we negotiated the wages, did we have any increase in people leaving the hospital? And the answer is no. So that tells me we have a fair wage, and so that's why the union really, I think, went after this. They spent $110,000. It's unfortunate that people like Arizona spending from outside the district inside the district to influence the local voters.
And so tonight, what kind of, what's the best possible outcome do you expect from tonight? Yourself, hopefully, I assume, going back on the board, Mr. Wesley Alice,
Well, Dr. Alice has been an incredible director for 10 years, and he's a PhD in healthcare at Stanford. So incredible value, and then it's going to be exciting to see some new people and their thoughts on the board.
Well, Mr. Zogden, that is our time for right now.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Good
you.
luck today. And this is Claudia Cruz signing off. Back to you at the studio.
Hi, I'm L.A. Chung. I'm the local editor of Los Altos Patch, and I am here at Cafe Vitale with some of the candidates who are running for Los Altos City Council and Los Altos School District. I have next to me Steve Talio or Talio.
Talio.
So I've been saying it wrong all this time.
Okay.
He's been in office for a whole year, and I've been saying it wrong this entire time. I'm really sorry.
I said it wrong for the first 20 years too, so we're okay.
Sorry to hear a conversation I had with Dave Cortese one time. All those Italian names.
Yeah.
So Steve is a Los Altos School District candidate. It appears he might be in our front runner right now with the early returns, very early. I'm going to ask Steve a little bit about how he has found the campaign and how he has spent the last couple of days. I actually know how he spent at least one of the days. Monday night, last night, was a Los Altos school board community meeting in which they were discussing the facilities requests of Bullis Charter School. This is as mandated by state regulations, part of the process. So there was many pages of documents and text that he had to read, and then a whole phalanx of maybe 250 people in the audience that night. So how did you spend today?
Today was work. I'm trying to catch up because it's we're actually getting close to some product launches, so I was actually trying to get that done.
You have a job?
I have a job, a real job, yeah. No, I've actually tried to ignore the campaign the last couple of days, to be honest, and was spending time getting ready for the meeting yesterday and trying to make sure I knew what was going on there from the requests. And I thought that actually the charter school team did a good job of presenting the core of what they had to last night, so that was good. And then hearing the community comments I thought were great. So I really thought that process was good for me. And then today I tried to pretend none of that went on and went to work. And so spent my day there trying to get some stuff done. So
you must have very understanding bosses.
I'm lucky that way, and they travel a lot. That helps.
For context, one of the things I forgot to say when I was making my introduction of Steve, of course, is that he is an appointed member of the current board, and so as a sitting board member, he actually had to prepare for a big meeting last night, so that's part of the reason why he was not campaigning. So let me ask you something about the campaign now. Since you didn't campaign the first time around, it was a presentation to the board. What have you discovered about Los Altos in this campaign?
Actually, what I found the most helpful in this campaign was all the community interaction and the chance to hear what the community was concerned about and how they felt about the district and some of the new things that are going on that we're doing in the district. Those things I thought were really helpful in and I've already actually used some of that information in our planning process that we started last month. Was able to bring some of those comments and thoughts that came in from different meetings and apply that to the planning process. And actually the outcome of that, one of the outcomes was the meeting we had last night. We're getting strong feedback that people wanted to be informed earlier and have a better chance to understand the issues and be more informed and have a more of an interactive process. And that's what we launched last night, was the beginning of that sort of approach. So hopefully it works and it sticks.
So you're saying that things that you learned during the campaign was something you actually were able to incorporate into a board meeting?
Yeah, we're already starting to use a lot of the information I gleaned from the interaction I was having with individual groups that we met with and talked to. So I found that really helpful.
So what does campaigning consist of? I mean, were you knocking door to door? Were you going to coffees? Tell me about that.
I was more going to coffees, and I'm not a good door-to-door guy. I'm not comfortable there, but if you want to come talk to me, I'm really good at making sure we get a chance to talk. So that part I really enjoyed. I did a lot of coffees, a lot of block parties, a lot of neighborhood get-togethers is where I spent most of my time getting a chance to talk to folks, and I found that to be the best way of doing that. Door-to-door was not really... I don't answer the door for a lot of people anyway, so I couldn't imagine doing that personally, so that we relied on that instead.
Well, thank you very much, Steve. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And I guess I should say party on.
Yeah, thank you. Good seeing you.
Okay, and welcome back to KMVT's live election night coverage. And we're about to leave. We're done for the evening. But I think it's still a long night to come for our local candidates, because I'm looking on my iPad right now. We're all refreshing the results because they were supposed to update at 10 o'clock and they haven't updated yet. So it's going to be a long night for our local candidates, but we've had a great time here.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. We're at KMVT in Mountain View. We still have quite a few of the candidates here in the room with us.
Yeah.
And they've got their eyes pegged on the screen too to know and see what the results are for their future with the different positions they're running for. We have over here, we've got, it looks like Obama's going to be around for another 4 years.
Yeah, so Governor Romney just cut off. He did his concession speech. So it's official.
Yeah.
So what did you enjoy about tonight? I know this is the first time we've done something like this. I've had a ball. I've loved kind of the impromptu stuff that's happened tonight.
Yeah.
What about you?
What I really enjoyed the most was seeing all the candidates. They're firm believers in what they're doing, and it's fun to see people who really want to change the world and make a difference. And this room is full of those people.
And
so it's been a joy.
Tonight was community, and I really enjoyed that. So thank you, Timothy, for being here. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching, or those who will see this later on. Send fan letters to us if you want to. But I've had a great time. Thank you so much, Timothy, again, for being here. And for KMVT Community Television, this is Alicia Crank signing off.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right.